On the southwest side of town, 22-year-old Gino Alberico is hosting a party for his girlfriend's birthday.
Happy birthday, baby.
Gino's having a small party, small get-together of friends, and there's quite a few people there. Typical of these small neighborhood parties that start out with just a few friends, uninvited guests show up.
As Gino's party gets larger, guests spill onto the porch and out into the front yard.
And all of a sudden,
He hears a commotion, some loud bangs going on in the front yard.
guests are fleeing and he's not quite sure what's going on. And he goes out into the front yard. He sees a body laying there.
No.
This guy's not moving. Gino goes to check on him.
He touches the body, sees the blood.
Call 911! Oh,
And thinks, oh no, I need to get help fast.
Downtown, Lt.Joe Kenda slips back into his office after an evening spent working a case.
I'd missed dinner and I was pretty hungry. I make a PBJ. You can do that in 30 seconds.
It's Kenda.
Dispatch tells Kenda there's been a shooting at 402 Lynn Avenue.
All right, by the way.
There's multiple shots fired at a party, a private home, and there are a number of people injured. One has been shot and is apparently dead.
20 minutes later, Kenda pulls up to a troubled part of town he knows all too well.
This area is known as having a number of barrio gangs within it.
Barrio gangs are neighborhood gangs. People working together to protect what they identify as their turf, their neighborhood.
In the front yard of a modest suburban house, Kenda finds a chaotic and bloody scene.
It is the typical aftermath of a party that goes south. And it's typically at these crime scenes, nobody seems to remember anything.
So what we got?
We got a 22-year-old male victim, Enrique Urrutia.
He was shot in the left cheek, downward angle through the head. He was laying right here in the grass near the deck.
What's his condition?
He was transported to St. Francis, it's pronounced DOA.
Show me where they found him. Absolutely right over here.
An impression in the grass and a pool of blood are all that remain of Enrique Urrutia.
So the body was found here. What's this over here?
There was blood on a deck, which also contained what would appear to be possibly brain matter, but Enrique's found in the grass.
Well, that indicates to me somebody moved him.
All right, so we got a big party. Fight breaks out, shots are fired. Do we have any weapons? Oh, yeah. This one.
Well, okay, good. Maybe that's our murder weapon.
Sawed-off shotgun. I don't see that every day.
This weapon is often described as an alley sweeper, pointed in a general direction, and you're going to hit somebody.
2 expended shell casings. That's been fired twice.
Kenda needs to know if the shotgun is the murder weapon.
Did you see the victim's wounds before he was transported?
Yes, sir, I did.
How big was the entrance wound?
Maybe a couple centimeters, maybe.
That's handgun, single bullet. If somebody shot him in the face with a 12 gauge, he wouldn't have a face. Shotguns produce pellet damage of a broad area of the body, so this is not the weapon used to kill this victim.
Did you find any casings or slugs?
Lieutenant, we've been searching, but nothing yet.
It's the middle of the night, and the grass hasn't been cut for several weeks, and the grass blades are 4 or 5 inches in length. There could easily be things concealed within that grass that we cannot see.
Looks like it's time for the metal detection unit.
I'll call him.
There is a local club of metal detectors. These are private individuals who come together out of a interest in metal detection, who volunteer their services to us to look for metal objects like bullets.
Gentlemen, nice to see you again. Lieutenant? Did you guys work your magic?
They see this as a civic duty to offer their services to law enforcement agencies in the area. We accept their offer.
The metal detection enthusiasts fan out across the yard.
Got something here. What is it?
They find an expended casing near where the victim was found from a .380 pistol. It is a small caliber weapon, more than sufficient to kill you,
It's consistent with the wound that we see on Enrique.
and it appears to be fresh. You can still smell the powder in it.
We got it. 380 auto. Blood processes? I'm gonna talk to the homeowner. It's fine.
With the model of the murder weapon identified, Kenda's next step is to figure out who among the partygoers owns a .380 pistol. For answers, he turns to the man who lives here, Gino Alberico.
Grab Gino for me.
Hey, Gino.
What's going on tonight, Gino? What are all these people doing here?
Well, I was throwing a birthday party for my girlfriend.
And the word went out in the neighborhood, and no one realizes that everybody and his brother was going to show up, but they did. So all of a sudden, this place is mobbed. And before he knew it, everybody was fighting, and then there was some shooting. I said, look, stop. Don't tell me about everybody running away. Is this a barrio gang party? Don't lie to me. Somebody's going to tell me anyway.
Well, yeah, a lot of my friends are banditos.
The Banditos are a barrio gang, prevalent in the area.
Do you know the guy that got shot?
No.
Never seen him.
Nope.
You didn't see anything at all?
Not at all.
Kenda suspects Gino knows more than he's letting on.
The code of silence among these barrio gangs always comes into play. They are distrustful of the police. They are particularly frightened of becoming an informant.
I'm all set.
The word snitch, you don't become a snitch no matter what.
I'm gonna take a run for the hospital.
All right.
It's almost like we don't need the police. We're going to take matters into our own hands and go after whomever we need to go after and make sure that we get our revenge for what they did to us.
With no one willing to talk, Kenda heads to the hospital to see if the family of the victim, Enrique Urrutia, might have some answers.
Hey, Lieutenant. This is Peter Cisneros, Enrique's stepfather.
Very sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I can't believe this is happening.
Well, he's very distressed about the loss of this boy.
He wasn't a bad kid. He didn't deserve this.
Peter tells Kenda Enrique's tragic story.
Enrique Urrutia was a young man just starting his life, had a young child that he was raising as a single dad.
The mother was killed accidentally in another shooting.
So now she has no mother, no father. I don't understand these kids.
And you just feel awful. You feel awful for these people. Life is hard enough, and it just got a lot harder.
Well, I'm sorry to have to ask you this right now, but we want to solve your stepson's murder. Was there anything or anyone in Enrique's life that might have led to this?
Enrique was, probably had been involved in some things that he maybe shouldn't have been. Ran with some people that maybe he shouldn't have, but that doesn't mean that he should have been murdered.
Was Enrique affiliated with a barrio gang?
Yeah.
What was he doing at a bandito party?
The Banditos and the Warritos are two gangs in Colorado Springs with a lot of bad blood between them.
Barrio gangs are not the same as motorcycle outlaw gangs or Bloods and Crips. They look at it as a form of self-protection, that they are each other's brother. And they are determined to retain that brotherhood and blood connection, no matter what. You have a Warrito showing up at the wrong party. Why would he come here? There has to be a reason. I need to know what the reason is.
Again, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Kenda wants to know how the Warritos will react when they learn one of their own was killed at a Banditos get-together.
The real issue with these barrio gangs is revenge. Revenge is their thing. One death avenges another death, and on and on. And this could spin out of control where we have an actual war going on.
The pressure is on for Kenda to find Enrique's killer and find him fast.
We need to resolve this quickly. We need to find out who shot this kid and get him in custody before other people die.
But it may already be too late.
Go for Kenda.
You've been requested at a shooting at 83 in Hartford.
Another Hispanic male has been shot, and he's a member of the Warritos, and he's dead.
10-4, tell him on the way.
And I'm thinking, here we go. Here we go. So we're investigating the murder of a 22-year-old man, Enrique Urrutia, who is a barrio gang member, and now we've just been informed that there's another death involving another member of the same gang. The question now is obvious. Do we have a war underway?
How you doing? So what do we got?
We got one victim. He was transported to Memorial Hospital. These two were in the car with him.
So what's the victim's prognosis?
He's DOA.
I figured.
The victim is identified as Rodolfo Urrutia, Enrique's cousin.
Is that the gun?
Yes, sir. It's found in the back seat by the paramedics.
And there is a pistol on the roof.
Did you find any connection to Enrique's murder yet?
It's unclear at this point. These two were riding around with him. They said they were looking for the killer.
And now this kid is dead. Could it be retaliation? Of course. Could it be a second event? Of course. We don't know what it is.
Is this something where this particular family has been targeted? Or is it a wider situation that involves many more people?
Kenda starts with the inside of the vehicle.
Head wounds bleed horribly, so there's a lot of blood everywhere. The high-velocity blood spatter on the headliner of the car and the back window indicates clearly this person was in the back seat of this car when he was shot.
Who was in the car with him?
This guy over here, his girlfriend, his name is Tony Garcia.
Tony is the semi-leader of the Warritos. He is a respected member of this group. Tony is a creator of nightmare scenarios. He's always in the middle of something. If there's a fight, Tony starts it. If there's a gun used, Tony pulls it. Tony is always trouble.
You want to talk to your girlfriend? I'll talk to Tony. Tony. So what happened, Tony?
Man, Rodolfo was pissed about Enrique. So he had his gun out thinking we were going to find the guy who did it. And he just kept messing around.
Rodolfo is in the back seat, and he's got a gun. A .380 auto pistol, which is the same caliber we found an expended casing of at the Enrique crime scene, but they're common guns, and so that's not that startling. And he's playing with a gun.
I'll just put this dome up to him and just pop.
Rodolfo's drinking, raising hell about he's going to kill a bandito, he doesn't care which one, and he's jacking around with this gun and pulling the magazine out and pulling the live round out of the chamber and putting it to his head.
Yeah, it's easy, dog. What if I just did it like this, dog?
And lo and behold, it wasn't empty.
So you're saying he shot himself by accident?
Yeah, man, I can't believe it.
All right, stay right here.
Kenda isn't entirely convinced that Tony is telling the truth, so he checks in on the driver of the car, Tony's girlfriend Marisol.
He thought the gun was empty.
Excuse me for a second. Excuse me. So what's she saying?
Basically, it's just a big accident. You know, he pulls out the gun, thinks it's empty, puts it to his head, pulls the trigger.
I'm gonna talk to Tony today.
Tony and Marisol's stories are consistent and match the physical evidence inside the vehicle. For now, Kenda's willing to let them go. But first, he wants to find out what Tony knows about Enrique.
Why don't you tell me what happened at the party where Enrique got killed?
I wasn't at no party. I don't know nothing about that.
When we first questioned Tony, he's not even sure he was in Colorado when this party took place.
Then, Tony offers up something no one else has.
But I do know what everybody's saying.
What'd you hear?
Nick Quintana shot Enrique.
Based on the fact that we had a lot of code of silence issues with this investigation, once we get somebody at least providing a name, it does kind of focus our investigation on that name.
Nick Quintana.
Yeah, he knows we're looking for him.
If Nick knows he's being looked for by this street gang,
Take him.
what forces is he gathering to protect himself with?
Yeah, this whole thing's a powder keg about to blow. I'm gonna need you to wrap up this scene. I gotta find this Nick.
Then this is how wars begin, where it becomes one side versus another. It's not me and you anymore, it's us versus them. So I need resolution of this to prevent further death, and I'm going to take Tony's word right now. Nick Quintana is my man that I want to talk to right now. Now we have two members of the Warritos that are dead. We finally have somebody named as the person responsible for one of those deaths.
Tony Garcia, a leading Warrito gang member, has informed Kenda that word on the street is that a man named Nick Quintana is responsible for killing Enrique, and that the Warritos are hell-bent on exacting revenge.
We've got to get to Nick and put a stop to this before we have even more people dead.
Luckily, this isn't Kenda's first dealing with the Quintana family.
So, who's Nick Quintana? Well, he's got a brother named Lenny, who is associated with other crimes I've investigated.
A few years earlier, Lenny Quintana was a witness to a shooting Kenda worked. His cooperation helped crack the case.
There. That's him right there.
So we find Lenny first, because he's easy to be found.
Hey, Lenny. You been staying out of trouble?
Of course.
How about your brother?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm worried about him.
Lenny explains to Kenda he's been hearing rumors about Nick's alleged involvement in Enrique Urrutia's murder.
It's all around here. The Warritos think that he killed that guy. But he didn't do it.
How do you know that?
He was with his girlfriend all night. There's no way he could have done that.
Nick wasn't even at that party. He didn't even go there.
Where's Nick now?
I don't know. None of us can find him.
He's in hiding because he thinks they're going to kill him. They've told him they're going to kill him. They've told anybody to listen to him they're going to kill him.
Lenny, if you care about your brother, you've got to have him get in touch with me.
Because I've got to put a stop to this behavior. Somebody is going to shoot Nick, whether he did this kid or not. Because that's the word in the street. So get to him through your mother, through whoever you have to, and let me talk to him.
Please, Lenny. Tell him I stopped by.
And then were you that.
Later that afternoon, Kenda gets a page from an unknown number.
This is Kenda.
It's Nick Quintana. He is still in hiding, but Kenda convinces Nick to meet him at a safe location. 20 minutes later, Kenda arrives at the rendezvous point and finds a man clearly on edge.
Nick? Yeah, Lieutenant Kenda.
He explains he didn't do this. He didn't shoot this kid. He wasn't even at this party.
My girlfriend and I were hanging out with some friends last night.
Why is everyone saying that you're the killer?
And later that night, I got a call about what happened at Gino's. So, went over there to check it out.
Nick claims while he was there, the local news started filming him.
Next thing I know, word on the street is I was at the party, but I snuck in and killed somebody. It's crazy.
The fact that he's there in news footage doesn't mean he was there at the party, because they always show up an hour later.
Nick's story is plausible, but Kenda's not in the business of taking people at their word.
Alright. I mean, the name's your girlfriend? Never when you were with that night.
Yeah, not a problem.
They better not say you were at the party.
We round up the girl. Girl says Quintana's not the guy. And other people confirm that Nick is a different location. Nick Quintana didn't shoot anybody. So now we're back to square one.
What's more, it turns out Nick and Lenny Quintana aren't even part of a barrio gang. Kenda heads back to the station to regroup. But it's not long before the lead he's been waiting for comes rolling in.
Hey, Lieutenant.
What's up?
There's an Alex Garcia here to see you. Says he's got some information on the Uri case.
You can send him in.
Alex Garcia is a young male who was brought down to the police station by his father.
I understand you have some information on Enrique's murder.
Yes, I was at the party that night.
Can you tell me what happened?
Well, everything was going fine. I don't know how it started, but all of a sudden a fight broke out. The next thing I know, Enrique's dead.
Initially, Alex's story doesn't provide Kenda with any new information, but then he drops a bombshell.
Everybody get the fuck out of here!
He also talks about another individual who's waving around a gun. And he tells us it's Tony Garcia.
Tony Garcia.
Yes, sir.
You're saying you saw Tony Garcia at this party?
That's right.
With a gun?
Yes, sir.
I wasn't at no party. I don't know nothing about that.
Tony is the guy who is saying he wasn't at the party at all. Then he wants to give me Nick Quintana as the guy who killed Enrique.
Also, he was observed with a weapon. We know weapons were discharged.
Well, thank you. Officer?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming in. You did the right thing. Yeah, when you get Tony back in here.
Yes, sir.
Tony's lying through his teeth. It's time to talk to Tony. We are investigating the murder of Enrique Urrutia during a flare-up between barrio gangs. If we don't resolve this quickly, there's going to be a gang war and there will be blood.
One of the leaders of the Warridos, Tony Garcia, told Kenda he wasn't at the party where the shooting took place. But when a bystander at the party states Tony was there too, and was brandishing a firearm, Kenda has Tony hauled back downtown for additional questioning.
So we drag Tony downtown. Now Tony thinks he's clever and thinks he's street smart, He's neither one.
What the hell am I here for, man?
Cut the crap, Tony. You know why you're here.
He's got himself in the glue, and I've explained that to him in great detail.
Everything you've told me so far is a lie.
And if you're gonna start telling me some truth here, I'll figure out a way to charge you with Enrique's death.
I told you I wasn't there.
We've got people that put you there. Put you there with a gun.
Look, Tony, you're at the party. You're part of this. You're the leader of the Juaritos. You're at a Bandito party, isn't that right?
All right, man. I was there, but I didn't do nothing to nobody.
Okay, but you and Enrique are Juaritos. Why were you there?
We didn't come there to hurt nobody. We just came there to make a statement.
A statement? About what?
Tony explains to Kenda that even though it was a Bandito party, it was taking place on Juarito turf.
What you folks doing here? I'm going to our neighborhood.
So what you're saying is the whole reason you were there is because someone threw a party in your part of town?
Well, we had to show him. We had to.
Kenda believes this turf war is the spark that ignited the fight. But he still needs to find out if Tony somehow killed his fellow Juarito.
What kind of gun did you bring to the party?
My shotgun.
Okay, so the shotgun we find is yours, yeah. So what'd you do?
Everybody was fighting. Everything was getting crazy. And I wanted to break it up.
I shot it in the air just to stop everything and make everybody back off.
And what'd you do with the gun?
I dropped it and I left it there.
He said it was a piece of junk anyway. He's right about that.
Tony's version of events seems to gel with the evidence.
It matches the known facts. The confrontation takes place. He thinks it's getting out of hand, that he fires the shotgun twice. He fires it in the air. There's no damage and no injury from the shotgun blast. He's telling me the truth.
Enrique was killed with a .380 caliber weapon, not a shotgun.
So, Tony is out as a shooter. So who is it? I don't know.
All right, Tony. You're free to go. For now.
Hoping to dig up new leads, Kenda instructs his detectives to stake out Enrique's funeral.
But they're not here for the service.
Sometimes a perpetrator will attend a funeral because ultimately they're kind of sorry about it.
And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding.
They want to maybe say they're sorry to the family for the loss they've suffered. That may sound bizarre, but it happened. So we're there.
In the name of the Father.
We're hopeful that this is going to get us something.
Amen.
In the meantime, detectives approach Enrique Urrutia's stepfather after the funeral, hoping he might have a new lead for them.
A lot of times we do get some good contacts that come out of this. When people are emotional, they're fed up with the death. They sometimes are more willing to talk to us.
Mr. Cisneros, very sorry for your loss. We're still trying to find out who did this to Enrique. I was wondering, since we spoke at the hospital, have you heard anything that might lead us in the right direction?
Actually, yes. I heard about this guy. He was there. And supposedly he knows who shot Enrique. I think you should talk to him.
Do you know his name?
Roberto Dominguez.
Roberto's, he's a kid. He's 18, 19 years old. He's not affiliated with the Barrio gang. He was 5 feet away from Enrique. He could have reached out and touched him. He doesn't break the code of silence, but yet he's also conflicted about what to do about this.
Do you know where we might be able to find Roberto?
Yes.
Write him down for us?
Mr. Cisneros is able to provide us information of how to contact Mr. Dominguez, and we use that to bring him into the police station for the purpose of an interview.
When Roberto Dominguez arrives at the station, he's visibly nervous.
Lieutenant, Roberto.
Nice. Thanks for coming in. Have a seat. It's important we talk to you. Can you tell me what you saw at the party on Lynn Avenue?
I don't know, man.
Roberto's very concerned about his own personal safety. He knows that if he talks to us, he's going to be labeled a snitch. You'll probably have a greater danger of being seriously injured or killed because you're a snitch.
Now, you have to be careful with him at this point. I don't want to confront him. I don't want to frighten him. I want him to cooperate with me.
Roberto, people tell me you know things. And I think you do. If you do and don't tell me, you know other people are going to get killed.
Because they want blood for blood. And the other thing that could stop it is you and me. You and me have the power to put an end to this nightmare.
You have to trust me. Trust me that I can end this.
He starts to cry. I'm getting to him. He's not a street criminal. He's not a bad guy. And I tell him that.
Don't you want to save some lives?
I'm looking at this kid and I know I'm reaching him, and that's what I want to do.
Did you see who killed Enrique? Do you have a name?
He doesn't want to say the name, and there's different tactics that we can use. Sometimes it's photographs, sometimes having to write it down.
Bruno, maybe you write it down for us. A little bit easier, you know?
Go ahead, Roberto.
And he starts to write. Oh, my. After all of this, here we are. After all of this work, all of this wheel spinning, all of the threats and accusations and dead kids, we're finally down to somebody that truly knows who killed Enrique.
Roberto, you know us. You know we'll make sure that you and your family are safe.
Kenda convinces Roberto to write the name of Enrique's killer on a piece of paper.
He writes the name Peanut, a moniker, a nickname, street name.
Who's this?
It's very common, used by many people. Peanut.
That's who did it.
Do you know his real name?
I just know him by Peanut.
I'll check the moniker database, see if I can find something.
Detective Ritz discovers that Peanut is the alias for a bandito named Joel Padilla.
We have Joel's picture. But to ensure that we're talking about the same Peanut, we have to show this picture to Roberto. A photo lineup's made.
Do you see Peanut here?
When Roberto looks at this photo lineup, he reluctantly points to one individual. That individual is Joel Padilla. He confirms that he is the person who did the shooting.
Once Roberto successfully identifies Joel Padilla, the floodgates open, and he tells Kenda everything he saw.
Want to tell me what happened?
We're just hanging out, man.
Roberto is partying with Peanut on the front porch. They're talking, having a few drinks. When all of a sudden the Guaritos arrive, and Enrique and others advance toward them. Enrique and the Barritos go there to break up this party because it's a party on their turf, not a party given by them and their people. Enrique throws a beer bottle at Joel, and it misses him, but it smashes into the house right next to him.
Enrique gets in his face, you know what I'm saying, telling us we're in his barrio and we need to get out. And everybody just started fighting.
What's going on? What's going on, man?
Everybody's rolling around, everybody's punching everybody else.
And that's when Tony starts waving around the shotgun while this fight's going on.
But Enrique and Peanut, they were still fighting on the porch.
The two are struggling and in close contact. And at that point, Roberto says he hears a gunshot.
He shot him. Enrique fell on top of Peanut.
Was he afraid because he felt he was losing the fight? That's one possibility. Maybe he's just angry. Maybe he's just mad. Maybe he's tired of this. Maybe he's decided to take revenge right then and there.
And everybody scatters. And the only one that's left is Enrique, laying on the ground, dying.
Where can we find Peanut right now?
I have no idea.
No one seems to know where Joel Padilla is, but now we know who we're chasing. And we begin to narrow the search pattern until we have a pretty good idea where he is. It's an apartment complex on the east side.
Kenda believes Joel is living at an apartment in Nob Hill and orders his men to begin round-the-clock surveillance.
There he is. That's right there. Hang on.
As they're approaching the apartment complex, Padilla knows it's the police, and he takes off running. He is tackled by the police.
And you're coming with us, buddy. Joel Padilla. You're under arrest for the murder of Enrique Urrutia.
He comes into the interrogation room. He is frightened. This is a very serious matter. This is death.
Joel, we know that you killed Enrique Urrutia at a party over on Lynn Avenue. You want to tell me about that?
You can be a big man and be machismo and all of this when you have a weapon and maybe you're in a fist fight or something like that. But when you're sitting in the police station and they're giving you all of the evidence that they have that you're the murderer, it's sort of hard to have that persona of being, okay, I'm invincible.
He starts to cry, and that's usually a good sign. If they start to cry, they are collapsing emotionally and are prepared to rid themselves of their guilt, usually.
But for Joel Padilla, that's not the case.
I didn't do...
Are you a member of a gang?
I want to talk to a lawyer. Now.
All right.
So we don't get a statement. But after all of that work and all of that effort, we did what we set out to do. We stopped further bloodshed. We got to the truth. We got to the right guy.
Joel is charged with first-degree murder, but he's able to make a plea bargain with the district attorney.
Joel pleads guilty to manslaughter and is sentenced to 12 years in prison. And though the case is closed, it can't bring back the two young men who lost their lives over such a seemingly insignificant affair.
We have two tragic deaths over what would be considered very minimal reason. Somebody giving a party in the barrio of another barrio gang.
Gangs offer a kid everything kids want. Love, acceptance, discipline, a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, a sense of belonging, all the things that people desire. And if you're not in a gang or have never been in one, you have no idea that this is more important than anything. The gang is everything. The gang is your world. And you must protect it at all costs.
Tokyo, winter 1990. The city hums like a machine that never sleeps, neon bleeding into the drizzle. In a small branch in Chiyoda, inside a bank that looks like any other on any gray street, something happens that will never make sense. A robbery without a robber, a heist without a trace, a puzzle that begins the moment the cameras go blind. It starts at 9:42 p.m., a time no one remembers until detectives rewind it frame by frame. The Marinucci Trust Bank branch is closed, shutters down, lobby lights dimmed, only a skeleton crew working behind the scenes, counting cash, balancing ledgers, waiting for the clock to let them go home. Outside, the rain intensifies. Inside, fluorescent lights buzz, paper rustles, a security guard checks his watch. On the recording, every camera in the bank flickers at the same second. A brief static snowstorm, one heartbeat of chaos, and when the image sharpens again, the vault is open. No one is seen unlocking it. No one is seen going in. There is no crowbar, no explosion, no masked intruder slipping through a side door. One frame, door sealed, indicator lights glowing red. Next frame, the heavy steel gate hangs wide, the motion sensor blinking like a stunned eye. By morning, headlines will call it the ghost heist, an invisible thief, a phantom criminal, a cold case thudding into existence in real time. Inside the vault are rows of safe deposit boxes and stacks of yen bundled in neat plastic-wrapped bricks waiting to be moved the next day. Some of that money will never be seen again. The footage shows nothing, no shadows, no silhouettes sliding across the floor, just a blind gap, a missing sliver of time, and a vault door that should weigh more than a car hanging open like a forgotten cabinet. At 9:58 p.m., an alarm should sound when the internal system detects the door is not secured. It doesn't. Logs later show everything is normal, status closed, status locked, status secure. No malfunction on record, no warning. The bank hums along, oblivious. The night staff finishes their routines. One by one, they sign, clock out, put on their coats. At 10:12 p.m., the last employee leaves. The next morning, just after 8 a.m., a junior clerk unlocks the side entrance. He steps into the lobby, shakes the rain off his umbrella, and walks toward the corridor that leads to the heart of the building. The air feels wrong, not colder, not warmer, just wrong, like a room that's been rearranged in the dark. The vault door stands open, not halfway, not cracked. Fully open, the thick barrier pushed aside, the locking bolts retracted as if someone had entered the correct code and turned the correct key at the correct time. The clerk stops, the umbrella slips from his hand. For a few long seconds, all he hears is his own breathing echoing off concrete and steel. Then he runs. Within minutes, the branch is swarming. The manager arrives, pale and shaking. Security rushes in, radios sputtering bursts of static. Someone grabs a phone and calls the police with a voice that doesn't sound like their own. A bank, a vault, an open door, no sign of forced entry. Possible robbery in progress. Send units now. Tokyo Metropolitan Police cars slice through traffic with their red lights spinning. Neighbors peer from windows. Early pedestrians slow down, sensing trouble long before they understand why. Inside the vault, the first officers step over the threshold and freeze. The air is cool, still. There are no overturned chairs, no broken lock, no chaos. Just absence. On the floor, where stacks of cash were carefully logged and lined up yesterday, dark gaps yawn like missing teeth. Several safe deposit boxes hang open, their contents gone. Jewelry, bonds, papers that meant entire lives all vanished. It looks professional, clinical, clean, no fingerprints on the door, no shoe prints on the polished floor, no fibers, no tools left behind. If you didn't know money had been stored here, you would think the room had always been this empty. Within hours, the branch manager is in a small interview room answering the same questions again and again. Who had access to the vault codes? How many keys exist? Any irregularities? Any suspicious faces in the lobby? He dabs his forehead with a handkerchief, fingers trembling. He names employees, procedures, protocols. Each answer is recorded, transcribed, dissected. The vault requires two inputs, a numeric code and a physical key. Two people, two separate roles. No single employee can open it alone. That's the rule. On paper, it is unbreakable. In reality, someone bent it until it snapped. Detectives trace every movement inside the bank for the past month. They study sign-in sheets. They pull camera footage, not just from the heist night, but from the weeks before. They look for patterns, who lingers, who glances where they shouldn't, who moves a little too smoothly past doors they shouldn't care about. They find nothing. No one loiters where they shouldn't. No one slips into restricted areas without a log to match. The staff looks tired, overworked, ordinary. There are no dramatic masks, no guns, just people in suits, people with families, people who never imagined their faces would be frozen in police archives. The technical angle comes next. IT specialists comb through the security system. They map out the alarm network, the sensor grid, the camera wiring. The whole system is local, closed, supposedly secure. No external access, no modem lines to hack. All hardware has been inspected and certified. The bank has invested good money in the belief that nothing like this could ever happen. But it did. One anomaly surfaces. At 9:42 p.m., the cameras record a brief surge of static, one fraction of a second missing from the timeline. It's small enough that no one would notice in real time. But when slowed down and analyzed, that tiny gap becomes a canyon of questions. What caused the interference? A power fluctuation, an internal reset, a deliberate pulse. At exactly the same moment, internal logs that should show the status of the vault door simply skip a line. No error code, no event code, just a jump, as if someone erased a sentence from a story and left the paragraph to close around it. Cold case. Strange anomaly. Possible inside job, possible high-tech breach. In 1990, the idea of a cyber-assisted heist sounds like science fiction. But the detectives cannot ignore what the data tells them. Something invisible touched the system that night. Engineers from the security company are brought in. They arrive with binders talking about circuits and redundancy. They insist the system cannot be shut down remotely. They insist there is no hidden backdoor. Their voices tighten when asked if someone inside their own company could have done this. They say it is impossible. They say it again when the detectives don't look convinced. Outside the bank's walls, the human side of the story erupts. Customers file in, faces tight, eyes darting. Some had jewelry from weddings, handwritten wills, family documents that crossed generations locked behind that door. Now they sit in small rooms and hear that their boxes were among those breached. They ask when the bank will get their things back. No one has a good answer. Inside police headquarters, a task force forms. Desks are cleared, whiteboards fill with timelines, names, numbers. The amount taken is eventually calculated, the equivalent of several $1 million. Enough to matter, enough to shake trust. Detectives look outward now. They check border records. They monitor suspicious transfers. They ask about sudden flashes of cash, new cars in old neighborhoods, quiet men suddenly spending loudly. Organized crime groups are mapped, their known activities cross-referenced with any hint of a bank connection. Yet nothing concrete ties any gang to the Marinucci heist. No boast, no rumor of a major score. Criminals talk, especially when they want to frighten rivals. But about this robbery, the city's shadows stay silent. Weeks turn into months. The bank repairs its systems, replaces equipment, revises protocols. Staff are rotated. Some resign under pressure. Some are quietly transferred. Some feel the weight of suspicion every time a detective appears in the doorway. Even when they are cleared, the stain never fully lifts. Public interest cools. New stories push into the headlines. Another scandal, another disaster, another political storm. The ghost heist slips from the front page to a boxed column, then to late-night talk, then to nothing. In the case files, it doesn't move. It stays pinned, a red tag in a drawer that refuses to close. And somewhere in Tokyo, someone knows exactly what happened at 9:42 p.m. on that rainy night. Someone knows why the cameras went blind, why the vault door opened like a curtain, why millions vanished without a sound. Someone is living a life built on that missing second of tape, that erased line of log data, that open door in the heart of a supposedly secure bank. Officially, the investigation is ongoing. Unofficially, a word begins to circulate in hallways and back rooms. Unsolved. A word that tastes like failure. A word that turns fresh cases into cold ones. A word that will cling to the Tokyo 1990 bank heist long after the rain of that night has dried from the pavement and the junior clerk has stopped dreaming about the moment he stepped into the corridor and saw the vault door standing wide open in the quiet of the morning. The file lands on his desk with a dull, embarrassing weight. It's not just another robbery, not just another failure. It's a question stamped in red ink. Inspector Kenji Sato flips the cover open and sees the words again, typed across the top of the first page like a headline that won't stop screaming. Marinucci Trust Bank, Vault Breach, Date, February 1990. Status, unresolved. He is 45, 20 years on the force, armed robberies, homicides, extortion, kidnappings. He's seen messy crime, loud crime, desperate men with shaking hands and cheap guns. This is not that. This is a ghost. No forced entry, no alarms, no suspect. Just an open door, missing money, destroyed trust. He presses play on the VHS tape again. Flicker, lobby, tellers closing drawers, a security guard yawning near the entrance. Time code rolls toward 2142. He knows what's coming, but his shoulders still tense. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. Everything normal, everything banal, everything forgettable, until it isn't. Static, a white blur, not even a full second. Then the vault corridor appears. It looks the same, but it isn't. The indicator lights on the heavy door are different. The angle of the door is different. Sato pauses, rewinds, plays that tiny slice of time again, forward and backward, trying to force detail out of noise. Nothing emerges. No phantom, no figure, just the stubborn gap. He lowers the remote. The tape keeps spinning, the empty hiss of it filling the small screening room. At 22:12, the last staff member exits through the side door. Normal. Routine, unaware they're walking away from a crime scene that hasn't been discovered yet. Sato drags a hand across his face. "You're kidding me," he murmurs to no one. He visits the bank again, not the day after, like the first wave of officers did, weeks later, after the initial storm. After the media has moved on to fresher blood. The exterior looks clean, restored, boot prints and police tape long gone. Inside, the air smells of polish and new paint, as if the building itself is trying to cover its scars. The manager greets him with a stiff bow. Dark circles bruise the man's eyes, reputation damage, internal audits, angry customers. This place has been living on caffeine and apologies. "Inspector, we have already provided all documents," the manager says, voice tight. "Every log, every code, every—" "I know," Sato cuts in, gently but firm. "I'm not here for papers. I'm here to walk where your staff walked. Stand where they stood, that kind of thing." They move down the corridor to the vault. The door is closed today. Locked. Bolts engaged. The cold steel looms, heavier in person than on any tape. Sato stands in front of it and imagines it open, wide like a mouth, empty like a grave. "How many people know the code now?" he asks. The manager swallows. "We changed it 3 times since the incident. New procedures, rotating teams. No one person holds everything." "But back then," Sato says, eyes still on the steel. "The night of the heist. 2 codes, 2 keys, we've shown you. Humor me." The man sighs. The branch manager and the operations supervisor held the codes. 2 security officers held the physical keys. To open the vault, you needed 1 code and 1 key from 2 different people entering together. No exceptions. Sato nods. "It sounds good. On paper, it's bulletproof. In reality, people talk, people drink, people get careless, people get scared. Codes get written down. Keys get copied. No system is stronger than its weakest habit." He requests interviews with all of them. First, the junior clerk who walked in at 8 a.m. and found the door open. The kid is still rattled. He sits across from Sato in a cramped side office, twisting his fingers in his lap. "Walk me through it again," Sato says softly from the entrance. "I unlocked the side door, like always," the clerk says. "Put my umbrella in the stand. It was quiet. I remember hearing the clock in the lobby and the hum of the lights. It felt normal. I didn't see anyone else. I walked down the hall, and then I saw that." He jerks his chin in the direction of the vault. "The door was just open, wide. I thought maybe they'd been working late. Maybe they—" "You went inside?" No, I stopped. My legs felt strange. I just remembered dropping the umbrella. It hit the floor. The sound was really loud. I turned and ran to the manager's office." "You touched the door, the frame, anything?" He shakes his head fast. "No, I was too scared. I don't know. Maybe my sleeve brushed it when I came closer, but I don't think so. I don't think I went that far." Sato makes a note. The kid is not a liar. Nervous, yes. But his fear feels clean, real. Next, the security guard on the late shift that night. A man in his 50s with bad knees and a long face. He was near the lobby watching the monitors when 2142 came and went. "See anything strange?" Sato asks. "No," the guard says. "It looked like every other night. People finishing up, cleaning staff getting ready. I stepped away once. Bathroom break, I logged it." The log shows he left his station at 2139 and returned at 2147, 8 minutes. Enough time for the cameras to glitch, the system to hiccup, the vault door to do something impossible. "Anyone near your monitors while you were gone?" Sato asks. The guard shifts in his chair. "No one is supposed to be there except security staff." "That's the rule," Sato says. "I'm asking what happened." The man searches his memory. He mentions a cleaning lady passing through, but not near the desk. He mentions a phone ringing in a distant office, nothing more. Sato watches his face, looking for cracks in the story. If someone tampered with the video feed, they did it either from that security desk, from somewhere deeper in the building's wiring, or from a place that officially doesn't exist. He moves on. The operations supervisor, mid-30s, crisp suit, tired eyes, one of the people who held part of the code that could open the vault. I never entered my code that night, she insists. I was home by 8. You have my time card. You spoke to my family. I couldn't have been here at 9:42. I know where you were, Sato says. Phone records, neighbors, all checked. But someone knew your code. That's impossible, she snaps. Then her shoulders drop. I never wrote it down. I never spoke it aloud. I changed it every quarter. We were trained. People forget. People improvise. People share when they shouldn't. Did you ever send it to someone, even partially, on a note, in a memo, anything? She hesitates. A pause, small but real. Once, she admits. Years before, a senior manager needed to run an emergency reconciliation. I was off-site. He called, said it was urgent, that we'd handle the paperwork later. I told him part of the sequence, one segment, not the full thing. Sato leans forward. Which manager? She names a man who no longer works there, transferred to another city. Sato circles the name in his notebook. The past doesn't vanish. It just moves address. Then there are the keys, 2 physical keys kept in 2 separate locked boxes held by 2 different security officers. Both claim the keys never left their possession, never left the building, never touched unauthorized hands. One of them, a younger guard with slicked back hair and a nervous laugh, says, "We sign them out, sign them in, routine checks, it's all documented, you can see." Sato has seen. The signature sheet for the weeks around the heist shows no anomalies, no unauthorized removals, no missing entries, everything neat, everything in order, maybe too neat. He asked to see the boxes themselves. Metal cases with internal locks, each containing a single key with a unique bite pattern. He holds one up, turning it under the light. Ever had these recut? He asks. Never, the guard says. Ever lost one, even for a few minutes? Never, the guard repeats. Sato taps the key against his thumbnail. It makes a dull, solid sound. A thought wedges in his brain. You don't have to lose the original to make a copy. You just need access. A few minutes. A reason to open the box when no one is watching. He asks about maintenance visits, technicians, external contractors who might have had, even briefly, the opportunity to glimpse, to photograph, to trace. That's when a small detail surfaces. 3 days before the heist, a technician from the security company came to service the alarm system. Routine work order. Files say he checked the sensors in the vault corridor, inspected the main panel, ran a system test, signed off. He was logged in by the guard, escorted through restricted zones, watched as he opened panels and fiddled with wires. Anyone remember anything odd about that visit? Sato asks. At first, the answer is no. Just another man in a gray jumpsuit carrying a toolbox moving where he was told. But the older security guard, the one with the bad knees, narrows his eyes. He was quiet, the guard says slowly. Too quiet. Most of them complain. About overtime, about the job, about the coffee. But this one barely spoke. Just nodded, moved fast. I remember thinking he knew the layout better than we did. Sato asks for the technician's name. The service order lists it in neat block letters. He forwards it for background checks. Hours later, a report lands on his desk. The name matches a real employee at the security firm. Same ID number, same signature on other work orders. But when they visit the company headquarters, they find out something else. The man in question hadn't done field work in months. He'd been reassigned to a desk role long before the bank visit. According to payroll records, he was on leave the week of the heist, out of the city, visiting family. So who signed in at the bank 3 days before the vault opened itself? Who walked those corridors wearing someone else's name on a badge? Who touched those panels, those wires, those hidden arteries of the building's nervous system? Cold case, sudden chill. They pull security footage from that day. Grainier, less watched, but still functional. There he is. A figure in a gray jumpsuit, cap pulled low, surgical mask over his mouth, which in those days still looks more medical than common. He keeps his head angled, his face turned away from camera lines. He moves like a man who doesn't want to be remembered. The guard escorts him. The two of them pass by the vault corridor. The technician kneels beside a panel, tools flashing in his hands. He opens the metal cover, exposing the guts of the alarm system. Wires, boards, connectors. He leans in, shielding his work with his back. The camera view is bad. The angle is wrong. It shows his shoulders, his elbows, the top of his cap, not his fingers, not the precise changes he makes. After 20 minutes, he closes the panel, stands, nods. He signs a form. He leaves. That's it. No dramatic flourish, no slow, sinister look up at the lens. Just efficient, forgettable movement, the kind you only notice when it's too late. Sato stares at the screen until his eyes sting. A thought grows like a bruise. Someone studied this place. Someone understood both the human protocols and the electronic skeleton. Someone walked in wearing permission, touched the system, and left with nothing but time on their side. He orders a forensic audit of the panel. Engineers come in, unscrew, pry test. They find subtle modifications, a bypass that shouldn't be there, a relay that doesn't match the original blueprint, a hidden loop capable of freezing status reports for a snapshot of time, holding them in a false secure state while reality shifts behind the scenes. A ghost switch. But even that doesn't fully explain the door. The code, the keys, the human factors. Inside job, outside mastermind, hybrid crime, theories multiply. Rumors leak. Someone says Yakuza, someone else says foreign syndicate. A few whisper about an elite thief, a man whose name passes through underground channels like an urban legend. No proof, no photos, just stories. A specialist in quiet jobs. No witnesses, no bodies, no glory. Just clean exits. Months pass. Leads flare and die. A safe deposit client with shady business ties vanishes overseas. A mid-level bank executive quits suddenly, cashes out, moves to a condo in Singapore. A former engineer from the security firm takes a long, expensive trip and never comes back. Each one is checked, interviewed, tracked, haunted. None can be tied cleanly to the 942 static, the frozen logs, the open vault. The case begins to settle into a pattern Sato knows too well. Sharp at the start, blurred at the edges, evidence aging, witnesses forgetting, memories warping under the pressure of time. But something about this job sticks under his skin, the precision, the restraint, the way the thief, or thieves, left nothing dramatic behind. No spray-painted slogans, no taunting calls to the media, just silence. It feels less like greed and more like demonstration, a message delivered in absence. We can walk through your walls, we can open what you call secure, we can take what we want and leave you with nothing but questions. He starts coming in late, staying longer, tracing names and dates with his finger on the board until they blur. One night, well past midnight, the office is quiet. The city outside still buzzes, but the fluorescent hum of the investigations floor has thinned to a few stubborn bulbs and a coffee machine that never stops. Sato stands in front of the caseboard, the vault photo pinned dead center. Open door, dark interior, chalk outlines where cash once sat. He looks at the timeline again. Technician impersonator 3 days before. Static glitch at 2142. Guard off station from 2139 to 2147. Keys always accounted for. Codes supposedly secret. Sensors briefly blind, then honest again. No alarm, no panic. He imagines the sequence as a single fluid move. The system lulled with a hidden circuit. The logs briefly deceived. A door open not with brute force but with cooperation. Willing or unwilling. A person who knows enough to stand exactly where the cameras can't see them. Another person who provides access without realizing what they've done. This isn't a smash and grab, it's a choreography, a quiet dance in the dark. Cold case, but not dead, not yet. Somewhere on the edge of the board, almost forgotten, sits a list of safe deposit box numbers that were hit. Not all, not random, a cluster here, a gap there. Certain boxes untouched, others cleaned out. He stares at the pattern. One box was emptied 2 days before the heist. Its contents legally cleared out by the owner, papers signed, keys returned, on paper everything legitimate, but the timing scratches at him. He circles the number, then circles it again. A box that used to be full, suddenly vacated, a technician who wasn't the technician. A vault that opens itself in the night, a bank that swore it was safe until the morning proved it wrong. In the neon-lit sprawl of Tokyo, the 1990 bank heist begins to harden into myth. For most people, it's already fading, just another strange story in a city that manufactures them daily. For Inspector Sato, it's not a story, it's a wound. And every time he looks at the file, at the static on the tape, at the frozen second where everything went wrong, the same quiet question rises like steam off wet asphalt. What really walked through that vault door at 9:42 p.m.? And how did it disappear so perfectly that no one, not even now, can say they saw it? He circles that number until the ink bites through the paper. Box 314. On the board, it's just digits. In his head, it's a hinge the whole case might swing on. He pulls the rental records. Names married to numbers. Quiet lives stored in metal drawers. A jeweler hedging inventory. A businessman who trusts steel more than walls. An old widow hoarding metals. Then there's 314. The entry is thin. Renter, Shinsei Trading Company. Type, corporate, opened 3 years before the heist. Contents, confidential documents and negotiable instruments. Closed 2 days before the vault went strange. 2 days. The address leads to a narrow office block in Kenda, squeezed between a stationery shop and a ramen joint. No marble, no receptionist. Just a dim stairwell smelling of dust. On the 4th floor, a metal door with a peeling nameplate, Shinsei Trading Co. He knocks. Silence. He waits, listening. Only the hum of fluorescent tubes. He tries the handle. Locked. Downstairs, the building manager sits behind a chipped counter. When Sato mentions Shinsei, the man frowns as if pulling the name from fog. "They're gone," he says. "Left months ago, maybe a year. Time blurs, they stopped paying rent. One night they cleared out the office. Quick, no forwarding address." "Who signed the lease?" Sato asks. The manager finds a folder. Representative Koji Hino, no ID copy, just a company stamp and a slanted signature. "See him often?" Sato presses. "Only when they moved in," the man says. "Short, thin, suit too big, glasses, polite. Paid a few months in cash, then transfers. No complaints, no noise, good tenants, more paper than people." More paper than people. A company that rents a box for years, empties it 48 hours before a perfect heist, then evaporates. Back at the station, the business registry says what he expects. Shinsei exists in the most technical sense. Minimal capital, vague general trading description, no listed employees, paper scaffolding. He asked the bank who handled the closure. A senior clerk remembers, a woman with neat handwriting and a memory that scares junior staff. A man came, she says, said he was from Shinsei, showed identification, it matched. He returned the keys, signed the forms, waited while we brought the box. There was a flat envelope and a small metal case. He put both into a briefcase, thanked me, and left. Describe him. Average, she says after a pause. Medium height, medium build, navy suit, dark tie, short hair, no accent, calm, nothing odd. Would you know him again? She hesitates. Perhaps if I saw him move. His face, she shakes her head. His face is the kind you forget. The phone number on Shinsei's file is dead. The bank account used for rent is closed. Every attempt to follow the shell company ends in disconnected lines and locked doors. Meanwhile, the technicians finish with the alarm panel. The ghost switch is deliberate, a bypass wired neatly into the system, able to freeze door status and blind sensors for a sliver of time while the log insists nothing is wrong. Someone planned that. Old installation records point to one engineer who knew this branch better than anyone. He supervised the original system. He left the security company a year before the heist. Official reason, personal. Unofficial rumors, arguments over cost-cutting, memos no one wanted filed. His name is Toru Nakahara. The HR photo shows a man in his 30s, hair a little too long, tie a little crooked, eyes sharp, integration specialist. He made cameras, locks, and sensors speak together. Last address, a small apartment in Suganami. When an officer knocks, a neighbor says Nakahara moved out months ago. Late-night boxes, 2 suitcases, no goodbye, no new address. Shinsei folds. Nakahara disappears. The vault opens. The coincidences start to look less like coincidence. On the board, Sato draws new lines. Shinsei to bank. Bank to security company to Nakahara, Nakahara to the modified panel. The lines don't prove anything, but they haunt the gaps. His captain doesn't like haunted gaps. This can't be your whole world, the captain says. No injuries, no deaths. The bank's running. Insurance paid. You have live cases stacking up. Someone walked through a secure system and left no footprint, Sato answers. If we don't understand how, we're inviting an encore. You have 3 detectives, the captain says. Use them where blood is still warm. Keep this open, but don't let it swallow everything. He nods. The words bounce off. He goes back to the security company. The manager's patience has worn thin. We've cooperated, the man says. You stand here as if we robbed the place. Someone used your design, Sato replies. Maybe from inside, maybe from outside. Either way, your system is the road they took. In a side office, a younger engineer hovers at the doorway. Finally, he steps closer. I took over some of Nakahara's projects, he says. He wrote worst-case scenarios. If I wanted to break this system, I would... Management hated it. They said he was handing thieves a manual. Most of those notes were shredded when he left. Any survive? Sato asks. The engineer nods, guilty. I kept a few pages for reference. He brings a thin folder, photocopied sketches, cramped notes. One drawing shows an alarm panel with an added loop, a way to freeze door status reports while the physical lock does something else. It looks like a blueprint of the bypass inside the bank. Could Nakahara have built what we found? Sato asks. Yes, the engineer says, then quieter. He talked like someone trying to plug holes, not open them, unless something pushed him. Sato pins Nakahara's photo to the board. Rumors drift in. Someone claims Nakahara was seen in Osaka. Another swears he was on a ferry north. All smoke, no proof. Then a white envelope arrives at the station. No sender, no return address, just his name on the front. Inside, a narrow strip of fax paper, text faint and slanted. Inspect the owners of boxes 307, 309, 314, 322. Follow the companies, not the cash. The bank was not the target, it was the message. No signature, just a small curved mark under the last line, like a habit. His pulse spikes. The numbers match a cluster he's already ringed in red. Someone knows his board, or someone had the pattern before he did. They pull footage of the station's mail intake. Bins emptied, envelopes sorted, stamps slammed down. No one stands out. The envelope could have been slipped into any batch. He locks the fax in his drawer and starts on the boxes. 307 belongs to a small export firm handling auto parts. On paper, it's fine. A quieter set of numbers hints at inflated invoices and money drifting offshore. 309 belongs to a real estate holding company linked through shell layers to a politician already whispered about in bribery probes. 322 is rented by a healthcare supplier named in a separate file about rigged bids. Different industries, different logos, same orbit, companies circling scandal without quite falling in. The bank called what happened a robbery, insurance called it a payout. But as he reads, the word that sticks is leverage. Contracts, side deals, private ledgers, paper that can ruin people if it surfaces or protect them if it vanishes. Follow the companies, not the cash. He asks for deeper access to financial records. Legal says it isn't his jurisdiction. Other divisions close ranks. Too political. Too high level. Doors that weren't locked before are suddenly shut. His captain calls him in again. You're poking above your rank, the captain says. Donors, offshore accounts, front companies, this is not robbery detail. Push the wrong person, you'll feel it. Whoever chose those boxes already lives in that world, Sato replies. The street doesn't wake up knowing which firms are one scandal away from collapse. The captain studies him. You want to keep digging, dig, quietly. No names on official reports without proof. Cases don't just die in cabinets. Sometimes they starve in budget meetings. That night, his kitchen table disappears under paper. Box numbers, company names, the Shinsei contract, the sketchy description of Hino, grainy stills of the fake technician kneeling at the panel, Nakahara's wary face, the fax strip, its lines underlined. The bank was not the target, it was the message. Outside, Tokyo glows behind thin curtains. He closes his eyes and hears static, 2142. Cameras blind for a heartbeat, logs jump a line, a vault door obeys unseen instructions. When he opens them, the mental board is shifted. The vault is still in the center, but the lines no longer stop at the bank's walls. They run outward to shell companies, party offices, late-night bars where contracts are whispered instead of stamped. He thinks of Shinsei, more paperwork than presence. Of Nakahara writing warnings that were shredded. Of boxes holding more than jewelry. Of a thief or a team stepping through the open door not just for cash, but for silence. The tape will always skip, the log will always glitch, the camera will always blink at the moment he needs it most. The question pressing in his chest now is heavier than the file on his desk. Not just who pulled off a robbery no one saw. Who needed those particular boxes opened so badly that they built a phantom company, bent a security system, and walked straight through a city's trust, only to let the steel close behind them and leave nothing but an empty vault and a message no one has yet learned how to read. The city doesn't care about his wall of lines and numbers. Tokyo keeps pulsing, trains pouring in and out, neon dripping from every surface, late-night diners clattering dishes beneath television sets replaying a robbery no one can solve and then forgetting it. But in Sato's head, the static at 2142 never stops. The vault door keeps swinging open in slow motion again and again, to a room that should be full and isn't. He starts small. Staff records from the companies behind those boxes, he's not supposed to have them. A friend 2 floors down from white-collar crime owes him a favor. They meet in a smoke-choked kisaten that's too loud for eavesdropping and too small for official conversations. These are for your eyes only, the friend mutters, sliding a thin envelope over the table. You didn't get them from me. You're chasing ghosts inside financial fog, Kenji. Be careful, no one likes lights in these parts of town. Sato tucks the envelope into his coat without opening it. He doesn't look up until his coffee cools and his friend is gone. Back in his tiny apartment, under the yellow glare of a bare bulb, he lays everything out. Employee lists, board members, legal proxies signing on behalf of someone else. Names that repeat in different places like a watermark. Audit firm here, law office there, consultancy in the middle, all orbiting around the same circle of influence. Then one name stops him. Not because it's famous, because it appears twice where it shouldn't. A mid-level bureaucrat in the finance ministry, not a minister, not a face for cameras. Just a man who sits in committees, reads reports, quietly approves or delays. He is listed as a consultant to one of the shell firms behind Box 309. And buried in internal notes from a bank meeting 2 years earlier, he's mentioned as a recommended contact for regulatory issues, courtesy of an unnamed intermediary. No smoking gun, just a thin line between power and a private metal drawer. He writes the name on his board anyway. The pattern feels less random each time he looks at it. He doesn't put any of this in official reports. Instead, he runs parallel tracks. On paper, the investigation focuses on the alarm bypass, the impersonated technician, the missing engineer. Off the record, he follows the companies like the facts told him to. The facts. He can't stop looking at that curved mark under the words, that tiny, almost playful flourish, a habit at the end of a sentence. Not quite a signature, not quite an initial, like someone signing their presence without giving up their name. He scans the station's incoming faxes from the week before the envelope arrived. Internal memos. Junk ads. A complaint from an old woman about noisy kids in her building. No similar mark. Whoever sent it doesn't work here. He takes the strip of paper to handwriting analysis. They shrug. The strokes are neat, disciplined, the work of someone used to being understood by machines more than people. The curl at the bottom is the only flourish. Could indicate confidence, they say, or arrogance, or just habit. Their conclusion is a question dressed as a report. The days start blending. He finds himself walking through the city, half present, eyes on faces, looking for a man who might have been a fake technician, a soft-spoken company rep, a voice behind a fax. One rainy evening, he ends up back near the bank, drawn like a needle to a magnet. The pavement outside is clean, the lobby windows bright. Customers come and go, umbrellas blooming and folding. He stands across the street, smoking, watching the door that used to feel like a fortress. A woman in her 60s approaches, clutching a small handbag. She hesitates at the threshold like someone approaching a grave, not a bank. Her hand lifts, falls, then she turns away, lips pressed tight, eyes wet. He steps closer. "Ma'am," he says, keeping his voice low, his badge hidden for the moment. "Are you all right?" She flinches, then studies him. "I had a box," she says finally. "In there. They called me after... what happened. Said it was gone. Papers and photographs only, they said. No jewelry. They apologized like it was weather, like it was no one's fault, but someone did that." "What was in your box?" he asks. She presses her fingers into the strap of her bag. "Letters. Old ones. From someone I wasn't supposed to write to. You think the thieves care about that?" She laughs once, sharp. "They took money, I know. Everyone knows. But they took other things too. The bank says the list is random. I don't think so. I think someone chose." He asks her box number. She shakes her head. "Not one of those you keep circling," she says quietly. "I read the papers. They said some boxes belonged to companies. Big men, important men. Mine was just a number. They keep telling me they're sorry. I keep thinking how funny it is that the only honest words I had are gone now, and the lies I lived with are still here." She walks away before he can answer. Her words hang in the air like smoke. Not just cash, not just corporate paper, something else threaded through the selection. People who mattered, people who didn't, all swept into the same silent act. He returns to the vault list, crosses out, reorders, looks for a pattern beyond money, beyond politics, birthdays, opening dates. No, the clustering is there, but the edges are messy. He wonders if the mess is part of the plan, noise wrapped around a signal. The more he digs, the more pushback he feels, not open, subtle. Requests take longer. Files go missing for a few days, then reappear with half the pages misfiled. A senior prosecutor he's worked with for years suddenly reminds him of resource limits and asks if he's emotionally invested in this one. At home, his answering machine picks up silent calls. No message, just breathing on the other end. Once, late, a voice finally speaks. Not a threat, not a confession, just 5 words delivered calmly. "You should let this go." He plays it back until the tape warps. The line is clear, no background noise, no clues. The number is blocked. Telecom shrugs. It came from outside the city, which means nothing and everything. He doesn't tell his captain. Not yet. The more people know, the more doors this case has to pass through, and doors can close. Instead, he goes sideways. If someone used the vault to send a message, someone else might have heard the echo. A reporter, maybe. He calls an old contact from his early years in uniform, before detectives and suits, when he was just a patrolman in a sea of uniforms watching crowds. Back then, a young crime journalist used to ride along sometimes, hungry for stories. Her name is Aki Tanabe now, byline attached to crime and corruption pieces in a weekly magazine. They meet in a bar where the lights are low and the ashtrays fill faster than the glass is empty. She arrives late, trench coat damp from rain, notebook already in hand. "You're not the type to buy drinks for old times," she says, sliding into the booth. "So what do you want me to know, or what do you want to know from me?" He tells her the version of the story she already knows. Clean heist, cold case, ghost tape. Her eyes stay flat. Then he mentions Shinsei, box numbers, the anonymous facts, the pattern in the clients. That gets her attention. She leans in, pen still capped, expression sharp. "You think the vault was used to wipe records," she says, "not just steal from them." "I think someone used a robbery to rearrange the map," he replies. "Take cash, yes, but more important, remove specific pieces of paper from specific hands, or move them from public metal boxes to private drawers." She taps the table. "You want me to sniff around the companies," she says. "Ask the questions you can't without spooking the wrong people. I want to know who benefits from those boxes being opened without a trace," he says. "And I can't put half these names into official channels without hands reaching down and taking the file away." She studies him. "You realize if I print a hint of this, it dies fast. Lawsuits, pressure, my editor folding, they'll frame it as a wild conspiracy and hang you next to it." "I'm not asking you to publish," he says. "I'm asking you to listen. Talk to your sources. Tell me if you hear the word bank whispered in the same breath as any of these companies." She looks at the names he's written, recognizes some, raises eyebrows at others. "These are not men who stand in line at ATMs," she says. "They move money you will never see. You tread near them. You don't just risk your job, you risk your neck." He shrugs, weary. "I've had this file on my desk so long it might as well be furniture. If I walk away now, I'll hear that static every time I try to sleep." She smiles, humorless. "Always knew you'd marry a case instead of a person." Still, she agrees, carefully, quietly. Days turn into a rhythm. Officially, he checks in on newer robberies, sits in on other interviews, signs paperwork. Unofficially, he waits for Tanabe's calls. The first one comes at dawn. "I spoke to someone who knows someone who cleans offices near one of those shell companies," she says. "They've been shredding more at night, thick bags, like they're afraid of ghosts." "Anything about the bank?" he asks. A pause. "Not yet, but one thing. Your Shinsei Phantom. Their name appeared in a side memo about a land deal that never happened. The deal was supposed to go through a bank that wasn't Marinucci, but the same banker shows up in both cases." She gives him the banker's name. Another line on the board. The banker had overseen high-value clients for years, trusted, discreet, a man who knew which boxes mattered and which were just sentimental clutter. He left Tokyo 6 months after the heist, citing personal health. Officially retired to a small coastal town, lives alone, no scandal in the papers, just a quiet farewell party and a gold watch. Sato takes a train to the coast. The town is slow, air salted by the sea. The banker lives in a narrow house at the end of a sloping street. Potted plants wilt on the steps. A wind chime rattles lazily. He answers the door with caution in his eyes, but invites Sato in when he sees the badge. The living room smells of old tobacco and liniment. Framed certificates hang crooked on the wall, half praise, half history. I knew this would come, the man says, pouring tea with a hand that trembles only slightly. Not you specifically, but someone. You knew the contents of the vault, Sato says. Not just the cash, the boxes, the clients. That was my job, the banker replies. Confidentiality was my armor and my cage. What can you tell me about Shinsei Trading? Little, he says. They came recommended through a respectable law office. Good references, steady payments, polite distance, the perfect client. Did you ever meet the representative, Koji Hino? Once or twice, nondescript, the kind of man who disappears in a room with 3 people. But his paperwork was flawless, his transfers punctual. We don't interrogate good behavior. What about the closure? The man who emptied box 314 2 days before the heist. The banker looks at the window, watching gulls wheel over gray water. I saw the form, he says, approved it. The clerk described him as appropriate. In bank language, that means he didn't sweat, didn't shout, didn't flirt, didn't ask for anything beyond procedure. The ideal ghost. If they ever find him, you will be surprised at how ordinary his face is. Sato shifts. Do you think Shinsei was built for that box? I think, the banker says slowly. Shinsei was built for something that never quite arrived. The box was a waiting room. When the heist came, someone decided the waiting was over. The answer doesn't help. It sticks in his ribs anyway. He changes direction. The other companies, the ones behind those clustered boxes. Did anyone ever approach you about them outside official channels? The banker inhales, exhales, counts something invisible between them. Once, he says, over drinks, a ministry man whose name I will not give you asked about how secure our deposit system truly was. He used the words, even from the law, and laughed. I smiled and gave him the company answer. He smiled back as if we'd just signed a pact. Was that before or after the heist, Sato asks. A year before, the banker says, but these men don't think in days, they think in maps. The visit ends with no confession, no sudden reveal, no hidden ledger pulled from a drawer. Just a tired man who has seen more signatures than faces and who knows the weight of silence better than any thief. On the train back, the landscape blurs. Fields, warehouses, graffiti on retaining walls. His reflection in the window looks older than he feels, and he already feels older than he is. When he steps off at Tokyo Station, the crowd swallows him. Thousands of people, each carrying stories he'll never hear. Somewhere among them, perhaps, the fake technician, the Shinsei rep, the hand that penned the facts, invisible in plain sight. At the station entrance, a newsstand flickers with headlines. A new scandal, a politician denying everything, cameras flashing. The paper doesn't say it, but Sato can imagine the boxes, the documents, the kind of things that vanish neatly behind a sliding steel door with a code and a key. The bank was not the target, it was the message. That line keeps circling his thoughts. If so, who was the audience? The public never saw the details. The thieves never bragged. Whoever orchestrated the heist wasn't talking to newspapers. He was talking to the people whose lives were inside those metal boxes. A quiet threat, a reminder, we can reach you. Your secrets are not safe where you think they are. Back at the station, a new memo waits on his desk, administrative, dry, stamped. Effective next quarter, allocation of investigative resources will prioritize cases with immediate risk to life and public safety. Property crimes with no viable leads and no recent developments will be subject to review for suspension. He doesn't need anyone to translate it. Cold case, freeze it, move on. He can feel the file bracing itself for the back of a cabinet. But that night, when the floors are mostly empty and the vending machines hum louder than the phones, he opens the folder again. Tape static, vault photo, box numbers, anonymous facts, names, lines, patterns that still refuse to align. He rewinds the time code in his head again and again. 2142, cameras blind, logs lie, door opens, a team walks through. They know exactly which boxes to touch. They know how long they have. They know no alarm will sound. They leave with cash, paper, leverage. The door closes. The system snaps back, blinking, insisting nothing happened. On the surface, a robbery. Underneath, a quiet rebalancing of power. He closes his eyes and sees the curve of that last pen stroke under the facts. Not a threat, not a boast, almost a courtesy. Someone out there wants him to see the outline, if not the face. Someone who can slip answers into his in-tray without being seen. Someone who watched the city sleep while vault doors moved and men with clean shoes stepped over thresholds meant for armored carts and double-check forms. The case may yet be frozen on paper, but in his head, in the unseen corridors where he walks alone, the Tokyo 1990 bank heist is still live, still ticking, still whispering through static. And if someone sent a message through steel and silence, then somewhere in the city, someone is still listening for a reply. The notice hits like a quiet gunshot. 1 meeting, 10 minutes, no argument that matters. The words are simple, clinical, printed on thick paper so they feel heavier than they are. Case ID, Marunouchi Trust Bank Vault Breach. Status, investigative activities to be minimized pending new actionable evidence. Priority, reduced. They don't dare stamp it suspended yet, but everyone knows what it means. The file will slide farther down the stack. Newer cases will land on top of it. Fresh blood, fresh crime. The cold ones sink. Sato walks out of the briefing room with the file under his arm anyway. He can feel the looks behind him. Sympathy, annoyance, relief. The heist has become a bad joke in the building. The unsinkable case that somehow never hits anything solid. You can't fight every battle, his captain murmurs as they cross in the corridor. Pick the ones where you can still make arrests, not headlines. This one has neither, Sato says. Not yet. That's the problem, the captain replies. It's a hole that keeps asking for time, and time is the only thing we can't print more of. He wants to argue. He doesn't. He nods, accepts the words, walks away, and does the opposite. He starts coming in earlier, leaving later, but not loud, not dramatic. The bank file travels in his bag instead of staying on his desk. It's safer that way, harder to vanish. Tanabe calls him that night. Your vault is echoing, she says, voice low, cigarette crackling on her end of the line. You asked me to listen for whispers. I heard a murmur. Who, he asks. A mid-tier guy at a law firm, she says. The kind who handles paperwork no one reads until something goes wrong. He mentions a client in passing, a trading company that closed accounts fast after an unfortunate security incident at a bank. He doesn't say Marunouchi, but he looks at me like he thinks I know without saying. Shinsei, Sato says. He didn't say it, she replies. He wouldn't, but he clammed up when I asked if the company still exists. Before that, he was loose, overconfident. After that, nothing. Conversation ended like someone cut the tape. Can you push him? Sato asks. Not yet, she says. If I push too hard, he tells his boss calls my editor calls your captain. We all lose something. I'll circle around him, see who else knows the company died before it lived. He thanks her. She snorts. Save it, she says. If this turns into a story, I'll be the one sending faxes to you. He hangs up, stares at the wall. The fax strip sits pinned above his desk. Inspect the owners of boxes 307, 309, 314, 322. Follow the companies, not the cash. The bank was not the target, it was the message. He traces the curve of that last symbol with his eyes, a tiny hook, like a fishing line. The next morning, he comes in to find his chair pulled slightly away from his desk. His mug is turned so the chipped side faces him. Small things, not quite wrong, but off. Someone's been close enough to touch. He checks his drawers. The file is not inside. That's expected. He didn't leave it there. But the bottom drawer where he keeps nothing important is half an inch open. A baited mistake. He closes it the rest of the way, slowly. If someone wanted him to feel watched, it's working. If someone wanted to know whether the bank case still lives in this room, they just measured his reaction. He doesn't go to his captain. Not about chairs, not about mugs. Those sound like paranoia, not leads. Instead, he asks for the oldest, dustiest boxes and records. Internal memos, inter-branch communication, anything around February 1990 mentioning security reviews, he says to the clerk, who groans at the thought of digging in the paper graveyard. Why bother, the clerk asks. If they wanted you to see it, it wouldn't be buried. Exactly, Sato says. Hours later, he's sitting on the floor in a narrow file room, surrounded by cardboard tombstones. Dust in his throat, stale air caught between metal shelves and yellowing paper. He finds what he's looking for in a box labeled MISC, Admin. A memo from headquarters to regional branches dated 3 months before the heist. Topic, safe deposit operations and confidentiality. It outlines new recommendations, discretionary protocols, hints at recent concerns about political sensitivity. No details, just a tone. It reads like a warning wrapped in polite language. Attached is a list of high-value clients and risk-sensitive accounts. Names redacted in the copy, but the box numbers are not. Among them, 307, 309, 322, not 3114. Shinsei's number isn't there, but 3 out of 4 is enough to ring alarms in his head. Headquarters knew those boxes carried more than jewelry. They flagged them. They told the branch to treat them like explosives that look like paper. What the memo doesn't answer is who else saw that list. He copies the page, slips it into the bank file. On his way out of the file room, he catches movement at the end of the corridor. A silhouette gone when he turns. Just a shadow, but his neck prickles. The building's quiet laughter around the case has changed. It's thinner, more cautious. People stop joking when he walks by. Some nod, some look away. A few look like they want to say something and then swallow it. That evening, he meets Tanabe again. Different bar, same low light. She has ink on her fingers and tired triumph in her eyes. I nudged somewhere else, she says. A staffer in the ministry, not the man in your notes. One rung down. The type who overhears big talk and cleans up the paper trail after. What did he say? Sato asks. He didn't exactly, she replies. But he implied that after your heist, a few people slept better, not because the thief was caught, because certain files no longer existed where they could be subpoenaed. The ministry knew which boxes were hit, Sato says. They knew enough to relax, she says. That's what frightens me. They didn't rush to reinforce the system because they were scared. They treated it like the weather finally turning in their favor. She takes a long drag from her cigarette, releases a slow trail. Listen, she says, you're digging at roots that run under a lot of houses. There's talk off the record that a few years before the heist, someone quietly tried to regulate safe deposit oversight, more transparency, more traceability. That proposal died in committee. Official reason, too expensive. Unofficial reason, she shrugs. No one wanted their secrets mapped. He thinks of the vault corridor, the steel door, the ghost switch. Secrets not mapped but removed. Your anonymous friend is right, she says softly. This wasn't about money, not primarily. It was about access, the one thing powerful people fear losing. Do you think they hired the thief, Sato asks, or did the thief sell them a solution after the fact? She smiles faintly. Maybe both. Maybe someone pitched a service to certain ears. You have a problem in a box. I have a way to make boxes open and close without anyone seeing. Maybe some said yes, maybe some were just collateral, noise around the real targets. And Shinsei, he asks, box 314, the one that emptied early. Maybe a test run, she says, maybe bait, or maybe someone on the inside got nervous, realized the board was shifting and grabbed what they could before the table flipped. He walks home through damp streets, Tokyo's glow turning puddles into mirrors. The city feels heavier tonight, not because it's changed, but because he's seeing weight where he used to see structure. In his apartment, he lays the memo from records next to the facts. The patterns are no longer just inside his head. They're on paper now, staring back. Boxes flagged as risk-sensitive months before the heist. The same numbers whispered in an anonymous message, a shell company that never intended to be permanent, a vanished engineer who drew blueprints for breaking the system he helped build. And above them all, a layer of men who never touch keys or wires, but who always seem to know where the doors are. The next week, the official axe falls. He's called into a conference room where the air smells like cheap coffee and stale decisions. 3 senior officers sit behind a table. Papers are arranged in front of them like a barrier. Inspector Sato, the one in the center, says, "We've reviewed the status of the Marinucci case. In light of limited new evidence and ongoing demands on investigative resources, the decision has been made to classify it as inactive. The file will remain open, but no active hours are to be allocated without explicit authorization." The words are careful, the meaning is blunt. "Let me guess," Sato says, "someone needs the shelf space." "This isn't personal," the officer says. "We're not punishing you. Your efforts are recognized. But we have live kidnappings, current robberies, organized group violence, cases where we can rescue people, prevent harm. This is a 10-month-old vault breach. No suspect, no viable leads that fit in court. At some point, we have to say, enough." "What about internal memos flagging those boxes?" Sato asks. Anonymous faxes pointing to shell companies that dissolved right before the heist. A security engineer who vanishes after drawing a ghost switch that appears inside the bank. "Circumstances," the officer says. "Hunches. You're building a web with no spider. Courts don't convict on instinct." He wants to slam the table. Instead, he grips the back of his chair until his knuckles whiten. "If a similar breach happens again," he says quietly, "in another bank with the same invisible door opening, will we revisit this conversation?" "If that happens," the officer says, "we'll reassess. Until then, you are to treat this as inactive. That is an order, Inspector." He walks out with the file under his arm. The corridor feels narrower. The fluorescent lights feel harsher. A few colleagues glance away. One pats his shoulder as if he's lost a relative. Back at his desk, he doesn't put the file in the cabinet. He puts it in his bag. Sometimes a case is not something you work. It's something that works on you. Weeks blur. He handles other robberies, other scenes, masked men with real guns and bad plans, broken windows, shouting, blood on tile, cases that begin and end in a circle of tape and shouting, not silence. But at night, when the city softens, he goes back to the tape in his mind. Static at 2142. Some nights he dreams of standing in the vault corridor as the world twitches. 1 second the door is closed, the next it yawns open and something moves past him that he can't quite see. Not a person, a decision, a deal, walking. When he wakes, his sheets are twisted, his mouth dry, his heart pounding like he's chased someone up 10 flights of stairs. One early morning he finds another envelope on his doormat. No stamp this time, just slid under the door in the night. Inside, a photocopy, a page from a technical manual for the same alarm system used at the bank. The section is highlighted. A footnote. Under certain conditions, external diagnostic mode may briefly interrupt real-time status reporting. This is not intended to be accessible during operation. Below the printed text, in the same tidy hand that wrote the fax, someone has underlined a single word. Intended. No other message, no signature, just the same curved mark at the bottom. Someone is still watching his steps, someone with access to manuals he shouldn't have, someone who knows how the ghost switch was born. He stands in his kitchen, the city not fully awake yet outside, holding the paper like it might vanish if he breathes wrong. Inactive, the department says. Still alive, the city whispers. He pins the new page above his small table, next to the facts. The curve mark looks like a hook pulling the two together. He doesn't know if his phantom source is on the side of law, crime, or some gray kingdom in between. He just knows this. Whoever engineered the Tokyo 1990 bank heist understood both worlds. Enough to dance between them. Enough to make police, bankers, criminals, and politicians all look in different directions while the vault door moved. The case file may be cooling in official registers. But in the hidden spaces of Tokyo, back rooms, coded faxes, quiet calls in the middle of the night, the puzzle is still turning. The bank lights shut off at closing time. The vault door spins and locks, replaced since that night, but never fully trusted again. Somewhere, a man who once wore a gray jumpsuit under a false name may be watching the news, seeing nothing about himself and smiling. Inspector Sato doesn't know his face yet. He doesn't know who paid him, or whether he works for someone or sells his skills to the highest bidder. He only knows this. On a wet winter night in 1990, someone proved that even in a city built on schedules, systems, and steel, 1 second of static is all it takes to open a door no one believes can move. And as long as that door can move, the story isn't over. Not for him, not for the bank, not for the people whose secrets were stolen, or for the ones who ordered the theft. The file is now officially a cold case. But in the brittle silence between neon flickers and security cameras blinking, the Tokyo 1990 bank heist still breathes unseen, waiting for someone, anyone, to finally see the full shape of what slipped through that open vault and never came back. A year goes by, then another. The city molts its headlines, sheds its scandals, grows new ones. The vault story dims, buried under fresher fear. New robberies, new murders, new public outrage. The phrase Tokyo 1990 bank heist becomes shorthand in the building for case you don't talk about if you want promotion. On paper, it's dead. In Inspector Sato's head, it's not even sleeping. He works other files. Convenience store stick-ups with kids too young to drink, gang score settling, a kidnapping that ends with a small girl walking out of a warehouse in pajamas too big for her. Those cases cycle through. Crime, chase, arrest, paperwork, court. They leave marks, sure, but they resolve. The vault doesn't resolve. It just sits there like a weight on his chest. Some nights he comes home, drops his coat, doesn't turn on the TV. He sits at his kitchen table with cold tea and the same file he's not supposed to be touching. He reads the anonymous facts until the words blur. He strokes that tiny curl at the bottom like it might suddenly rearrange into a name. On the third winter after the heist, the cold cuts deeper. Wind knifes through alleys, breath fogs and stairwells. The city's neon looks harsher in the dry air. He's halfway through a ramen bowl in a cheap shop near the station when his pager buzzes. Not from the division, not from his captain. A private number he doesn't recognize. He goes to the payphone outside, shoulders hunched, coins ready. Inspector Sato, he says. A voice on the other end is male, low, strained through a hand over the receiver. Not the calm, measured tone from the Let It Go call. Different, rougher. Marinucci, the voice says. You still chasing it? The ramen steam clings to his coat, turning to frost in the air. Who is this? He asks. Doesn't matter, the voice says. If you buried it, hang up. If you didn't, listen. It happened again. Smaller, sloppier, but the bones are the same. Where? Sato says. Prefectural bank in Saitama, the voice says. Branch on the outskirts. They're calling it a malfunction. They're wrong. The line clicks dead. He stares at the phone for 3 full breaths. Then he's moving. Officially, he can't reopen the Marinucci case. Unofficially, no one said he can't read newspapers from other prefectures. He buys 3 on his way back to the station, flicks pages like a man shuffling cards, scanning for vault, alarm, security glitch. There it is, page 6 in a regional daily. A short article, almost casual. Technical issue at Saitama branch. System error triggers false alert. No theft, no drama, just an incident that technicians have fully resolved. He reads the small print. Time, 21:43. Alarm panel displayed secure while internal check briefly flagged a door as unresponsive. No loss of assets, no visible intrusion. System rebooted, end of story. Except that time, that single digit. 21:43. 1 minute off his ghost's favorite number. He knows coincidences. He's worked long enough to respect them and hate them. He also knows patterns. This feels like one. He goes to his captain. I want to take a personal day, he says. His captain frowns. You of all people taking time off. You sick? Just tired, Sato says. Thought I'd see some countryside. The captain eyes him. Don't bring a file with you, he says dryly. If the mountain wants to be a vacation, let it. Sato nods, lies, walks out with his coat buttoned up to the throat and a train ticket already forming in his mind. The Saitama branch is smaller than Marinucci, less marble, More fluorescent spill. On a weekday afternoon, it hums with farmers in thick jackets, small shop owners with cloth bags, old men paying bills in cash. He doesn't flash his badge right away. He stands in line like everyone else, watches the rhythm. Who moves with confidence? Who moves with anxiety? When his turn comes, he leans into the teller and speaks quietly. "I'd like to speak with whoever handles your security reports," he says, sliding his ID across. The teller blinks, then goes pale. She disappears into a back office. Minutes later, a branch manager appears. Sweat gleams at his hairline, even though the lobby isn't warm. "In what way can we assist the Metropolitan Police?" the man asks. Sato keeps his voice mild. "I read about your recent alarm issue," he says. "We had a similar event in Tokyo once. I'm curious about system commonalities. Purely comparative, no accusations, no press, you understand." The manager's shoulders sag, relief and worry tensing together. "It was nothing," he says too quickly. "A glitch. The technicians assured us." "I'd like to see the camera footage around 2143, Sato says. "And the alarm logs, just to reassure myself that nothing is really nothing." The manager hesitates. "I would need authorization from..." Sato steps closer, lowers his voice. "If it's nothing, this dies here in this room," he says. "If it's not, you want me seeing it now, not later when someone above both of us asks why we didn't look." That does it. Fear beats bureaucracy. It always does. In a cramped office that smells of toner and nervousness, they wheel in a small TV on a cart. The manager fumbles with the remote, pulls up the tape for the night in question. Empty lobby, cleaning staff moving like ghosts, a guard nodding off near a monitor bank. Timecode crawls toward 2143. Sato's mouth goes dry. On screen, nothing dramatic happens. No masked intruder, no sudden shadows, just a faint shimmer across the image, like heat over asphalt. Half a second. If you weren't looking for it, you'd miss it. "What's that?" he asks. The manager shrugs helplessly. "They said magnetic interference," he murmurs. "Old wiring. The technician reset the system. No harm done." "Technician," Sato repeats, "from the security company." "Of course," the manager says. "Routine visit after the alarm. He came the next morning. Fixed everything." "Next morning," Sato says. "Not 3 days before." He asked to see the logs, alarm status, door status, panel errors. At 2143, the vault door status flickers. For exactly 2 seconds, the internal sensor reads unknown before snapping back to secure. The outward-facing system never shows the blip. To the guard watching the panel, nothing happens. He points at the 2-second gap. "Did anyone open the vault that night?" he asks. "No," the manager insists. "We checked. The cash was all there, the boxes untouched, nothing missing." Nothing missing, but something tested. An operator checking his tools, a craftsman making sure his ghost switch still plays. He knows he's right, and it makes his stomach turn. He asks about recent maintenance. The manager pulls up digital records with greasy fingers. One routine inspection 3 months earlier, another 5 days after the glitch, both by the same technician. Same name as the technician on the Tokyo work order from years ago. Sato stares at the screen. The digital text blurs. Same name, same ID number, same company. Man who, on paper, should be in 2 places at once, years apart. Man who, according to payroll from the old Tokyo file, wasn't in the field the night the ghost walked through Marunouchi. It's like seeing an old ghost get older. "Do you have footage of the technician?" he asks. They do. The next morning, 0910, a man in a navy jumpsuit, cap low, mask on, taller than the Marunouchi version by a few centimeters, shoulders a little broader, different posture, same disappearing face. He watches the man move through the corridor, toolbox in hand. He kneels at the alarm panel, opens it, blocks the camera's view with his back. Routine, practiced. "How long was he here?" Sato asks. 40 minutes, the manager says. "He said our model was old, needed careful handling." "Did you sign his work order yourself?" Sato asks. "Yes." He checks the signature, the same technician name, the same company stamp. He doesn't tell the manager that in Tokyo, the real man with that name was sitting behind a desk while someone else wore his identity like a uniform. Back in Tokyo that night, heater humming weakly, he pins a new printout to his wall. Saitama branch, 2143, 2-second ghost. Inactive, the department calls the old case. Evolving, he calls it. He pulls the alarm manual photocopy down, reads the highlighted footnote again. External diagnostic mode may briefly interrupt real-time status reporting, not intended to be accessible during operation. Intended. Someone has access to a mode that shouldn't exist in live systems. Someone can reach into panels across prefectures, pause reality for a heartbeat, and walk through. He needs Nakahara, or someone who knew what Nakahara knew. He goes hunting. Engineers leave trails, old co-workers, conference rosters, technical journals with stiff black and white headshots and jargon-loving bios. He finds a 5-year-old article in a trade magazine, co-authored by Nakahara and another engineer. Topic: fail-safes and integrated security. The sentence that hooks him is buried halfway down. Any system that can be monitored can, in theory, be manipulated. The only defense is to assume eventual compromise and design graceful degradation. The co-author's name is Kazuo Kuroda. The company where Kuroda still works is smaller now, a subcontractor that tinkers in the shadows of larger firms. Their office sits in a low building outside Shinjuku, easy to miss if you aren't looking for it. Sato goes in during lunch hour, no appointment, just his badge and a polite bow. A young receptionist blinks at the ID, runs to fetch someone. A few minutes later, a man in his 50s appears, shirt sleeves rolled up, tie loose, lines carved into his face by fluorescent light and years of chasing elusive bugs and circuit boards. "I'm Kuroda," he says. "How can I help the police?" Sato watches his eyes, alert, careful, not guilty, not yet. "I'm looking into legacy alarm designs," Sato says. "They have a habit of turning up in reports. You worked with Toru Nakahara once." Kuroda stiffens, just enough. "That was a long time ago," he says. "I'm aware," Sato replies. "He left the firm. Vanished. Our records show he supervised the system at a Tokyo bank. That bank had a problem. I'm trying to understand what kind of man wrote those designs and who else can do what he did." Kuroda closes his office door. The click is soft, final. "Nakahara was brilliant," he says. "More than the job deserved, frankly. He saw weaknesses years before others admitted they existed. Management didn't like that. They don't sell fear, they sell reassurance." "Did he ever suggest ways to break the systems?" Sato asks. "Constantly," Kuroda says. "He said it was the only way to know if they were honest. He would sketch attack paths on whiteboards, how to blind sensors, loop cameras, spoof logs. It scared some people, made them think he wanted to try it." "And did he?" Sato asks, steady. A beat of silence. "I don't know," Kuroda says. "He talked about ethics more than most, but ethics bend under pressure. Money, threats. I stopped hearing from him after he left. One rumor said he was freelancing, consulting for clients who paid in cash, clients who didn't want paperwork." "What kind of clients?" Sato presses. Kuroda's gaze sharpens. "The kind who might need certain records to disappear," he says, "or doors to open at the right time, for leverage, for blackmail, for cleaning up messes they can't afford in daylight." Sato slides the photocopied manual page onto the desk. The highlighted footnote, the underlined intended. Watching Kuroda's face as he reads is like watching someone realize a ghost has been in their house for years. "External diagnostic mode," Sato says. "Accessible during operation. If someone rewired a panel, someone who knew the hardware, could they make that mode trigger on command?" "Yes," Kuroda says slowly, "but they'd need inside knowledge, schematics, maybe even original source code depending on the model." "Could that someone be you?" Sato asks. Kuroda's eyes flash. Offense, then fear. "No," he says. "I still have a job. I still pay taxes. I didn't vanish. If I'd taken that route, I wouldn't be here trying to keep startups from electrocuting themselves." "Then who?" Sato says. Kuroda rubs his temples. "You're not the first to ask about Nakahara," he says quietly. "A few years ago, a man came. Not police, not engineer, too smooth. Asked where he'd gone, who he talked to, what he knew. I told him nothing. After he left, I started paying more attention to who walked into our lobby." "What did he look like?" Sato asks. Kuroda shrugs helplessly. "Average," he says. "Medium height, medium build, forgettable, like a man who could wear any uniform and disappear as soon as he turned a corner." Forgettable, the word bites. The Shinsei rep, the fake technician, the unseen ghost, same template again and again. "Did he leave a name?" Sato asks. "Only a card with a number," Kuroda says. "I threw it away." "Can you remember any detail?" Sato insists. "Accent, smell, watch, shoes." Kuroda closes his eyes. "He had a habit," he says. "When he finished a sentence, he'd make a small motion with his pen, a little curve in the air, like he was signing an invisible note. A curve, like the mark under the fax." Static crawls up Sato's spine. He leaves the office with fresh chill in his bones. Tokyo's afternoon light feels paler. Cars hiss past in the street. Somewhere, a security camera rotates, lens blinking. He used to think he was chasing a thief, a single mastermind, a ghost who walked through one bank, took one haul, and left. Now, standing under a gray sky, he knows it's worse. He's chasing a service, a method, a quiet industry built on the ability to make steel open, logs lie, and secrets change hands without leaving fingerprints. The Tokyo 1990 bank heist wasn't a one-off. It was a demonstration, a proof of concept, a calling card written in missing money and empty boxes. And somewhere in this city, a man who cannot be remembered is still finishing sentences with a small curve of his pen, signing deals in the air, selling access to doors no one else can see. He stands on the sidewalk outside Kuroda's building, traffic washing past, the city fraying into noise around him, and feels the shape of it finally cutting through the fog. Not a thief, not a single ghost who visited one bank and retired rich. A toolkit, a pathway, a man who sells invisible doors and walks away before anyone knows which side they're standing on. A service. He goes back to the station with his hands in his pockets, shoulders hunched against a wind that isn't really there. His desk looks smaller. The building feels thinner, like walls you thought were concrete turning out to be plywood. He doesn't sit. He drops his coat, pulls the bank file from his bag, spreads the pieces on the desk as if the clutter can form a map if he stares hard enough. Marunouchi, 1990. Vault door opening on a blank tape. Shinsei Trading. Box 314 empty before the storm. Boxes 307, 309, 322 flagged in a memo like mines on a field. Saitama, 2143. A 2-second blink in the system with nothing missing yet. Nakahara's diagrams. The manual's footnote. The anonymous fax with its careful words and that curved mark like a ghost signature. And now Kuroda's description. A man who signs the air when he finishes a sentence. Same habit, same invisible flourish. He hears the voice from that late call again. You should let this go. Calm, not threatening. Almost advice. The kind you give an acquaintance on the wrong street at the wrong time. The building hums around him, phones ringing, keyboards tapping, cases moving in real time. His captain walks past, hesitates, glances at the spread of paper on the desk, and sighs. We just had this conversation, the captain says quietly. Inactive means what it says. I took a personal day, Sato replies. I didn't bill a minute. Don't be clever, the captain says. Someone's starting to ask why a cold file keeps showing up in conversations it doesn't belong in. Judges, prosecutors, people who never say Marunouchi out loud but suddenly know the case number. So the case is radioactive now, Sato says. Before it was just unsolved. His captain rubs his forehead. You see a pattern, he says. You feel it. I get that. But if you can't put that pattern into an arrest report, it becomes something else. An obsession or a problem. You know how few stripes I have between me and retirement. Don't drag me into the tunnel you've decided to dig under our own floor. Something flickered in Saitama, Sato says. Same model, same ghost switch, same fake technician name on the work order. This isn't a tunnel, it's a highway running under our nose. Then call Saitama, the captain says. Officially. Suggest a systems check. Do it through channels, not through ramen shops and personal days. He knows the captain's right, in the way rule books are right. He also knows that the moment he puts the words pattern, Marunouchi, and Saitama together in a report, someone above will decide the best fix is to close their eyes. He doesn't argue, he nods. He lets the captain walk away. That night, he meets Tanabe again. The bar's different, but the air is the same. Smoke, cheap whiskey, the low buzz of men talking about nothing important to drown out the things that are. He drops a photocopy of the Saitama log on the table between them. 2 seconds, she says, scanning. That's all. 2 seconds is eternity if you're the one with the key, he replies. They didn't take anything. They just reached in, touched the system, checked its pulse. She drums her fingers. So the ghost still works, she says. And he's still in business, testing, tuning, adjusting. Or showing off, Sato says, reminding a client their retainer is buying something alive, not a myth. You're starting to sound like him, she says, the way you talk about his work. He exhales through his teeth. You talk to anyone about safe deposit oversight again? He asks. Her jaw tightens. I tried, she says. Ran into a wall shaped like a ministry secretary. Off the record, he said, those systems are perfectly secure. Then he smiled, the kind of smile you see on someone who knows where the trap door is. Did he mention Marunouchi? Sato asks. He didn't need to, she says. He said, we learned from the past, then changed the subject. Past could mean a lot of things, but the way he said it sounded like a funeral no one attended. He watches her. She looks wired, restless. There's a new tick in the way she smokes, tapping ash quickly like she wants the cigarette out before it finishes. Someone talked to you, he says, not as a source, as a warning. She hesitates. That's all the confirmation he needs. They left a clipping on my scooter, she admits. Old article about a journalist who got too close to a finance story. Accident on a mountain road, no note, just the clipping, folded neat. You think it's connected? He asks. In the city, she says. Nothing is connected until it is. Nothing is coincidence until the pattern wraps around your neck. I'm not scared, Kenji, but I'm not stupid either. I'll keep listening, but I won't run with this unless there's something solid. He wants to argue. He doesn't. She's right. A ghost story without evidence is just noise. The people behind the vault trick live off noise. They hide in it. They leave the bar separately. Old habit. She walks into a wet, buzzing street. He watches her go for a second too long, something like guilt scratching behind his ribs. He starts seeing the curve everywhere after that, the little pen flourish, a signature you never see on paper, only in the air, on a train platform when a salaryman speaks into a phone and draws nothing in front of him, in a coffee shop when a man in a cheap suit taps his pen twice and makes a tiny loop before putting it down. He knows it's paranoia. He also knows paranoia is sometimes just pattern recognition with nowhere to go. 2 weeks later, the quiet breaks. It starts with a robbery that looks ordinary. Mid-sized bank in Kanagawa. Mid-afternoon thunderstorm, 4 masked men, 1 shotgun, 3 pistols, screaming customers, staff forced to the floor. Cameras capture everything. The sloppy timing, the shouting, the twitchy hands. They grab what they can from the teller drawers, bolt before police can arrive. Standard chaos. But buried in the incident report, one detail glows. The vault door was already unlocked when they got there. Not wide open, not like Marinucci, just unbolted. Supervisor insists she locked it an hour earlier. Logs show the latch status flipping from secure to access at 1437, then back at 1439. No authorized entry recorded. No camera in the corridor sees anyone at the keypad. The robbers arrive at 1443. They rush the vault, expecting steal. Instead, the door swings too easily. They grab as much cash as their shaking hands can handle, dump it into bags, run. They think they've hit a stroke of luck, cursed fortune shining on criminals for once. They have no idea they're walking through someone else's opening. Sato reads the summary and feels his stomach drop. 1437, 1439, 2 minutes of ghost access, a door that pretends to obey orders it did not receive. He gets a copy of the technical report, same system manufacturer, same series of panels, same no hardware fault detected conclusion. Different security company contracted now, but buried in the supply chain is the same old design, the same DNA. He drives out to Kanagawa in gray daylight, the sky low and threatening. The branch still smells of fear. Too strong cleaner over sweat. Staff jitter through statements. Customers replay their fear for officers who will never fully understand it. He stands in the vault corridor alone and imagines the invisible hand turning the wheel, unlatching the bolts. The regional detective in charge, younger, sharp suit, new to disillusionment, meets him near the coffee machine. "Why do you care?" the guy asks. "We have 4 faces. We'll catch them. They'll plead stupid. They might even tell us who sold them the guns. Open and shut. Because they walked through a door someone else opened," Sato says. "They think the luck was theirs. It wasn't." The detective laughs without humor. "You think there's a puppeteer behind every sloppy robbery now?" he asks. "I think," Sato says quietly, "that if you had your vault key in your apartment and woke up to find the door unlocked and your neighbor already halfway inside with a bag, you wouldn't blame only the neighbor." The younger man shakes his head. "We'll stick to the neighbors for now," he says. "Puppeteers don't fit in the forms." Forms, reports, boxes that crimes must fit into so budgets can be justified. On his way out, Sato stops at the security desk. The guard on duty is older, thick glasses, eyes darting. "Who services your alarm?" Sato asks. The guard names a company, newish, subcontracted. He mentions a technician who came months back to update firmware. "Remember anything about him?" Sato asks. "Polite," the guard says. "Normal. Sign the log. Still got the sheet." He shows it. Same technician name again, same ID string. A ghost wearing the same borrowed skin, years apart, different companies, different branches. Forgettable. He goes home, makes black coffee he won't drink, spreads new photocopies on the table. Saitama flicker, Kanagawa door, Marinucci vault, 3 different prefixtures, 1 pattern. He circles the technician's name until the paper nearly tears. One person can't be in all those places, not as the records say. Either the identity is a mask for many, or one man moves more freely than any cop. The phone rings at 2:10 a.m. He answers on the second buzz, heart already racing. "Inspector Sato," he says. "This line isn't safe," the voice says. Not the warning caller. Older, dry, the kind of voice that belongs to someone who reads footnotes and doesn't apologize for it. "But I've already accepted that nothing is." "Who is this?" Sato asks. "A bad habit," the voice says. "The kind that writes faxes it shouldn't. You found Saitama. You found Kanagawa. You're not as slow as they hoped." He looks at the pinned papers, at the curl on the fax. "You're the one sending me breadcrumbs," he says. "I'm the one trying not to watch the same movie twice," the voice replies. "The first time, at Marinucci, I was only a spectator. The second time I realized being a spectator doesn't stop the fire from spreading." "You're part of this," Sato says. "On which side?" A pause, long enough that he thinks the line dropped. "There are no clean sides," the voice says. "Not when money moves the way it does here. I sit near wires, near data. I see patterns I'm not supposed to see, that's all." "You have access to technical manuals. You shouldn't," Sato says. "You know about diagnostic modes. You know which boxes mattered. You're not just watching. You're inside." "I'm not inside their rooms," the voice snaps softly. "If I were, I wouldn't be calling you from a payphone with one foot pointed at the door. Listen to me carefully. Kanagawa was noise. A consequence. An amateur group stumbling into a corridor someone else briefly opened. The operator was displeased. He doesn't like variables." "Operator," Sato repeats. "You're forgettable, man." "He's not forgettable if you live in his shadow," the voice says. He offers solutions. "You have a problem you can't touch? I can touch it for you. Vaults, servers, boxes. We make the inconvenient go away." He only shows his face to people who can pay and keep quiet. But his work has a fingerprint, brief blindness, clean logs, steel that moves without a hand in view. "Why tell me this now?" Sato asks. "You could have stayed a spectator." "Because he's changing his business," the voice says. What began as deletion is becoming acquisition. It's no longer just about erasing, it's about copying first, keeping a version of whatever he removes. Insurance, leverage, if he wasn't dangerous before, he is now. "Where is he?" Sato demands. "Give me something I can touch." The voice exhales. A sound like tiredness and fear rolled into one. "Touch him and you touch everyone who ever paid him," the caller says. Ministries, corporations, groups you call organized crime and groups you don't, they will burn the city before they let you put him in a room with a microphone. Then why call? Sato growls. What do you want from me if you won't give me a face? I want you to understand, the voice says, that the heist you can't solve is not a single event. It's the opening chapter of a method. You're chasing the first crime in a series that never uses the same headline twice. If you can't stop him, at least see where his shadow falls next. And where is that? Sato asks. The voice hesitates, then drops a name that turns Sato's blood to ice. A different bank, not Marinucci. Bigger, older, embedded deep in the city's bones. A place where entire ministries sleep at night in the form of signatures, contracts, quiet guarantees. They've been strengthening their vaults, the voice says. Not the steel, the paper rules, new oversight, new audits. Some people don't like that. They've hired him to send a reminder. He may not take money this time. He may just open the door, take a copy of what matters, and leave it looking untouched. You'll never prove it happened. But some people will suddenly act braver. Others will suddenly act afraid. Which branch? Sato says. Silence. Then, if I tell you exactly, you'll rush in and you'll die. Or worse, you'll live and they'll decide you're a problem to solve. Watch the news instead. Follow the smoke, not the fire. That's all I can give you. That's nothing, Sato snaps. It's more than most get before history rolls over them, the voice replies. One more thing, Inspector. Stop looking for a man in a jumpsuit. That's just costume. Look for the pen, the curve at the end of a sentence, the ones who don't stand out in photos but always stand near the center of the room when decisions get made. The line clicks dead. He stands in the dark, phone to his ear, listening to the flat hum of a system that doesn't care who used it last. Outside, Tokyo flickers. Somewhere, a vault door spins shut for the night. Somewhere else, a panel waits for a code that will never come, because someone has found a way to talk to its heart directly, skipping the keys and the men who think they hold them. He goes to the window, looks out at the city. For the first time since the Marinucci tape, he feels the case stretching far beyond his board, his division, his rank. A web woven under concrete and neon, anchored not in one heist, but in a business model. Fear, access, erasure, and now, copies. The Tokyo 1990 bank heist is still officially unsolved. But in the quiet hours before dawn, standing alone with a deadline in his hand and a city of locked doors before him, Sato understands something new and worse. The crime he's chasing might not want a solution. It might want growth, and every unsolved second of static on a tape isn't a dead end. It's an advertisement. It rains for 3 days straight. The city seems cleaner, sharper, like all the noise has been washed off its surface. But beneath, the pulse hasn't changed. The trains still hum, the billboards still flash, and inside the glass towers, deals are still made in silence. Inspector Sato hasn't slept. The call from the ghost voice keeps replaying in his head, the tone calm, the meaning catastrophic. He's changing his business. Copies, not deletions. Insurance, not theft. He sits in his apartment, blinds half open, the city lights flickering across his table where the papers are spread out like the anatomy of a corpse. The old facts, the new printouts, the highlighted manual, the sketch of the curve. He's starting to feel it. That thin line between clarity and obsession snapping tight inside his skull. He needs confirmation. Something tangible, a name that isn't erased, a face that doesn't blur. He starts at the edges again. The companies whose boxes vanished in 1990, the ones flagged as risk-sensitive. A few are long gone, dissolved, renamed, but one, Koa Holdings, still breathes, not loudly, not proudly, quietly. It's still there, still filing reports, still pretending the world hasn't moved on. He walks into their lobby the next morning, badge tucked away, wearing the bland face of a consultant. The receptionist is polite, efficient. The waiting area smells like money left too long in the drawer. After a few minutes, he's led to a glass-walled conference room. The man who walks in is younger than expected, late 40s, well-kept, eyes that smile faster than his mouth. He introduces himself as Haruki Aso, Director of Compliance. I hear you're revisiting historical risk assessments, Aso says, sliding into the chair opposite. That's quite the vintage interest. Sato smiles thinly. I've been looking at how certain financial assets disappeared in 1990. Aso's expression doesn't change, but his fingers tighten on his pen. You're referring to the Marinucci event, he says. Not a question. I'm referring to the people who profited from it, Sato says. That was an insurance loss, Aso says evenly. A procedural failure, nothing more, ancient history. And yet 3 of the companies whose boxes were emptied had silent partnerships with yours, Sato says quietly. Same lawyers, same banks, same signatures. You want to tell me that's coincidence? Aso exhales slowly. Inspector, he says, using the word without having been told it, if you dig too far back, you'll find things buried for a reason. Some documents disappeared that night because they were meant to. Others because they happened to be standing too close. Who decided which was which? Sato asks. Aso leans back, eyes unreadable. You've already spoken to people you shouldn't have, he says. That means someone's watching you, and that means I have maybe 30 seconds before this room becomes dangerous for both of us. Sato's pulse hammers, then use them. Aso looks past him, through the glass. Rain streaks down the window, turning the city outside into vertical motion. There's a name you won't find on any record, he says. Shurikane Project. Classified as Facility Upgrade Initiative under the Ministry of Finance, 1988. It wasn't a project, it was a contingency. A system built to secure assets during political crises. A handful of engineers were given deep access to financial infrastructure. Nakahara was one of them. Sato leans forward. Nakahara was government? Contracted, Aso says. Temporary, disgruntled, dangerous in hindsight. They gave him too much freedom. When the project collapsed, he walked away with knowledge no one else had. That knowledge became valuable. He started selling safety, then silence, then access. The operator, Sato murmurs. Aso nods once. He's the last ghost from Shurikane still moving. You can't catch him because he doesn't move like a man. He moves like a service. He's not stealing money anymore. He's stealing certainty. Sato's voice drops. Where is he? Aso doesn't answer right away. He folds the pen between his fingers, the faintest movement tracing a curve in the air, the same flourish, the same signature ghost. Sato's heart freezes. Mr. Aso, he says carefully, how long have you been working here? Long enough, Aso says softly. Too long, maybe. You think you're chasing one man, Inspector, but it's a relay. Nakahara built the circuit. Someone else carries the current now. He stands smooth, unhurried. Go home, Sato. You've done enough. If you keep chasing the ghost, you'll start to look like one. Then he leaves, the door whispering shut behind him. Sato sits there a full minute before breathing again. His eyes are still fixed on that tiny motion in the air. The pen curve. The ghost mark. Back at his apartment, he plays the conversation over. Shurikane Project, 1988. Government-sanctioned architecture for security. The seed of everything that came after. Nakahara wasn't an outlier, he was an origin. The phone rings again, same blocked number, same cold rush in his chest. I warned you, the voice says. Same calm tone from before. You spoke to Aso. He's part of it, Sato says. You knew. I told you not to chase ghosts, the voice says. Now they'll chase you. I'm done listening, Sato says. You said copies. You said the next target would be bigger. Tell me where. A pause, then. Shurikane never died. It just changed name. They're testing a system tonight, a financial network stress run. You think it's just data transfer. It's more. It's a vault, only digital. They're going to open it from inside. Where? Sato demands. Downtown. Finance data center under Kiyobashi. You won't stop them. But if you want to see what Nakahara built become something else, be there at midnight. Click. He's already grabbing his coat, his badge, his gun, not because he thinks bullets will help, but because it feels wrong to walk into the dark without one. The finance data center sits beneath a mirrored tower that hums like a machine pretending to be a building. Guards at the entrance barely glance at him when he flashes the badge. They think he's here for routine checks. No one questions men who look tired and sure. The elevator drops him 4 floors underground. The air cools. The walls turn metallic. He can feel the hum of servers, the quiet heart of the city's money beating behind glass. At the end of the corridor, a door marked Access Restricted. Through the narrow window, he sees them. 2 technicians, 1 woman, 1 man, both masked, both calm. Their badges read Security Systems Diagnostics. The man's hand moves as he speaks, a small looping curve in the air. Sato pushes through the door. Tokyo Metropolitan Police, he barks. Step away from the console. They turn. The woman freezes. The man doesn't. He smiles. Not wide, just enough. Inspector Sato, he says. His voice is exactly the right pitch. Forgettable, smooth, calm. You're early. Sato raises the gun. Step back. You're standing in front of a door that's already open, the man says. You just can't hear it. Behind him, the monitors flicker. Lines of code scroll faster than Sato can read. Vault IDs, transfer authorizations, strings of encrypted symbols. For a second, the entire network goes white, then black, then steady again. What did you do? Sato demands. The man tilts his head. The same thing we did in 1990, he says. Only cleaner. Sato steps forward, gun trembling now. Who are you? The man smiles again, and for a heartbeat, the expression looks exactly like Aso's. Does it matter, he says. Names are just credentials. I'm whoever the system lets in. He takes 1 step toward Sato. Just 1. The lights stutter, the alarm system hums, then dies. Silence falls like a blanket. When Sato blinks, the man is gone. The woman is gone. The console is empty. Only the monitors remain, every screen showing the same message, blinking in green. Diagnostic mode engaged. Sato stares, his reflection ghosting across the glass. Above ground, the rain has stopped. But somewhere deep below Tokyo, in the quiet circuits of a system no one truly understands, another vault has opened, and this time there's nothing inside to count. Only information, sliding through invisible wires, vanishing faster than anyone can see. He holsters the gun, breath shallow, and whispers to the empty room. Marinucci wasn't the end. No answer. just the hum of the city's heartbeat, steady, indifferent, eternal.